All right, I'd like to call the regular Planning Commission meeting to order here on May 8th. Please note that all commissioners are present, and tonight, I guess the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Commissioner Brower. So please rise.
Thank you. As we prepare to start, I just want to take a quick moment to say how blessed I feel to be living in a country where we can do this, and knowing and acknowledging that the Supreme Court has just recently upheld the right to open with prayers or I can't speak, but you get the gist. I just want to acknowledge that as we do this, that I'm very proud to live in a country where we can, and we're blessed by God to do so. So from there, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So that comes to the section of the agenda, the public comments. If there's anyone here that wants to speak on an agenda item not before us tonight, here's your chance.
Jim Gardner.
If you can, when you come up, state your name again and your city of residence.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gardner. I'm from Lake Forest, and want to comment on two things. Let me start with the plant sale. The Lake Forest Garden Club is having their annual plant sale in the Clubhouse One's parking lot on Saturday morning from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's scheduled the day before Mother's Day, so it's an easy way to get your mom a present. Honestly, that's why they do it. And you'll never see nicer plants and cheaper prices than that. If you really want unusual plants, get there at 8 a.m. and because they go pretty fast. But if you want cheap plants, if you get there around 1:45, they're giving them away because nobody wants to take them home. So I definitely recommend that you go there. Lake Forest Garden Club this Saturday, 8 a.m. in the Lake One's clubhouse parking lot. The second topic I want to talk on is obviously a more serious topic, and that is the traffic forum. I spent last night at the traffic forum, Tuesday night at the city council, so I have no life. I'm here now. Anyhow, I was disappointed to see none of you there, because it was pretty obvious if it wasn't obvious to you before, it was pretty obvious during the traffic forum that poor planning is one of the major contributors to traffic congestion. And that was so clear. We were talking about the problem at El Toro and Raymond. And if you ever try to go down El Toro, you know that backup. It's there almost, from early morning right through the night. I was there 2 times today. It was both backed up, twice there. Why is that a backup? It's a backup because you got thousands of homes, thousands of units on this side with no way out except on Raymond. You got thousands of cars on that side in the mobile home with no way out but Raymond. They're all coming in on Raymond. Bad planning, traffic congestion. So you go up Lake Forest, you try to turn right on New Orleans. It's always a pain in the neck. Why? Because thousands of cars from that apartment complex come out on Lake Forest. They could come out on New Orleans. They could come out on Oswego. Their main entrance is Lake Forest. Thousands of cars. Poor planning. So it seems to me, planning commissioners, if you believe that your job is planning, that you should be at those, in not just any one of them, but all of them, because listening to the residents is as valuable or more so than listening to the staff. So I recommend, there are 2 more to come. I recommend that you go, you listen to the people. I'll have 3 articles about it because there was so much good information starting in the patch tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much.
If there's anyone else that wants to speak before the Planning Commission on an agenda item not before us tonight, now's your chance. All right, we will move on to presentation item number 1.
This item is our quarterly code enforcement activity report for the first quarter in 2014. And unfortunately, Lou Kirk could not be here this evening. Just a brief summary, I'm sure you've all read the report. The report shows the activity between January 1st of 2014 and March 31st. The report includes several graphics, charts, and GIS maps that depict various aspects of code enforcement. If you have any questions specifically regarding the report, I would ask that we have Mr. Kirk come back at one of our next meetings. If you'd just like to receive and file, that would be fine as well.
Any questions from the commission? All right. Thank you very much. I guess we'll go on to presentation on item number 2.
This is our Public Works Quarterly Report, and we have a very exciting presentation for you this evening. Angel Fuertes is here from our Public Works Division.
Chairman Hamilton and Commissioners of the Planning Commission, you have the quarterly report in your packet. If you have any questions, be more than willing to answer any of your questions. If not, I would like to brief you on the Lake Forest Sports Park construction. And I would like to do it with a short video, if I can.
That hopefully works. It worked a half an hour ago. There.
This is the park site. That's 87 acres, 57 acres devoted to recreational use. It's the recreation building. And we're coming upon the 2 soccer fields with, we'll have synthetic turf and 3 soccer fields in the background. All the roadways and parking lots are paved. Sports lighting have been installed. There are 4 baseball fields with natural turf and 1 clubhouse. This is one of 2 clubhouses. Each clubhouse would have restrooms, offices, and concession stands. And this is the softball. There'll be enough space for 500 parking spaces. The recreation building is a total of 27,000 square feet. The electrical, HVAC, and the utilities have been installed. The contractor is currently installing the flooring. There are 2 activity rooms, 4 classrooms. This is the concrete walkways. They'll have an acid finish. There are approximately 2,000 trees being planted on the slopes. And tree wells throughout the park site. These are picnic shelters. There are about 9 picnic shelters. They're either 30 by 30 or 40 by 40. And each of the shelters will have 4 picnic tables and 1 barbecue grill. The video was produced by J Concrete, which is a concrete subcontractor to the Prime being Park West Landscape. And the video was filmed by a drone helicopter on March 24th, which is about a month and a half ago. Like I said, the recreation building is about 95% complete, and the contractor recently finished the gymnasium floor, which you see right here. Beautiful, isn't it? Okay. The construction started in July of last year, and the contract calls for a 16-month construction period. The contractor is on schedule to complete the construction by late fall of this year. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission? Or comments?
I'll comment. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Can we move that date a little bit further? I mean, I'm anxious for this to have the grand opening. So, you said the contractor's on schedule. Can you maybe define that a little more specifically as to, is it October, November?
It looks like late October.
Okay, that works. Thank you.
One question, why the difference in the type of turf between the soccer fields and the baseball fields? I'm just curious why that is, because I know there's opinions both ways on which turf is better.
Well, there's going to be a total of 5 soccer fields. 2 of them will have synthetic turf. 3 will have the natural turf. The baseball diamonds will have natural turf. And the theory is to have the synthetic turf, it'll be an all-weather field, that after it rains, it can be immediately be used, whereas the natural turf fields takes a couple days for the fields to dry out before it's being used.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's a beautiful facility, and your department's done a great job on it, and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Commissioner Brower.
Just a quick follow-up comment on the all-weather statement. As a Little League coach and a member of the Little League board here in Lake Forest, I know it's not your department, but if you could pass it on that maybe we need to evaluate at some point what is a rain event and what the city's policy on field closures is, because it's a gray area right now, and we would, as a board, on behalf of the kids, we would like to have a little more input, acknowledging, of course, that it is the city's field and the city has ultimate responsibility. But if you could pass that on, I would appreciate it.
I will do so.
Anyone else? Thank you. It's good to see some FAA-approved drones flying in the city. I guess that brings us to the consent calendar. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar passes unanimously. That brings us to the public hearing, item number 5, with the staff report.
Before we get started on the public hearing item, I'd first like to introduce Hung Dao Nguyen, who is here. So she is representing the Planning Commission this evening. Well, we'll get in for right now. She's here in Mal's place, and I'll turn it over to her. And then we're going to reorganize. We're going to reshuffle the deck here a little bit.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is I'm from the City Attorney's Office. And in this PCN matter, we did advise and work with city staff at the city staff level. And so case law requires that to avoid any potential for bias and to provide the applicant with proper due process, another attorney must advise the Planning Commission. And so we've brought on special counsel Matt Silver of the law firm of Silver and Wright to serve as general counsel to the Planning Commission in the PCN appeals.
Thank you. And welcome, Matt Silver. So with that, I think we have a staff report.
We do. Jennifer Manser will give the staff report tonight. We also wanted to let you know that Lieutenant Valentine is here as well in case we have any questions on law enforcement issues.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. This item is the appeal of the Director of Development Services denial for the determination of public convenience or necessity, also known as a PCN. I'm going to call it that because it's just easier. For the sale of beer and wine at the existing 99-cent only store located in the Lake Forest Marketplace on El Toro Road. In September of last year, the city received a request for a determination of PCN for the store. The Alcohol Beverage Control, or ABC, requires a determination of PCN when a business is either located in a high crime district, which this is not, or when the business is located in a census tract that has been determined to be overconcentrated. The census tract for this store is allowed 3 off-sale liquor licenses and currently has 5 licenses in the tract. This means the tract is overconcentrated and is the reason the ABC is requiring the PCN from the city. The factors for determining PCN are outlined in your staff report. The applicant carries the burden of proving that the public convenience or necessity would be served by granting a beer and wine license. The request for PCN was reviewed and analyzed by city staff. The Director of Development Services determined that the material presented by the applicant did not include sufficient facts or information to adequately demonstrate that public convenience or necessity would be served by the issuance of an additional beer and wine license in the census tract, and denied the PCN for the store. Within the appeal period of the decision, the PCN was appealed to the Planning Commission, which is why we're here tonight. The staff report for this item outlines the operation of the 99-cent store, including their security at the site, and has some crime information from police services. As noted in the staff report, the Planning Commission has 3 options regarding the appeal. 1, to deny the requested determination of PCN. 2, to approve the requested determination of PCN, reversing the director's decision. Or to decline to act, in which the determination for PCN would be made by the Department of ABC. The decision for this item will be made by minute action instead of resolution, I believe. Maybe not. Matt's going to discuss that. The appellant for this item is in the audience tonight, and he has a brief presentation prepared. And as Cheryl mentioned, we have Lieutenant Valentine here if you have any crime or police-related questions. But first, the attorney, Matt Silver, is going to talk about the item a little bit.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the Planning Commission. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Can you hear me? Is this on? Great. Okay. Thank you for having me. Just to reiterate, the burden is on the appellant, okay, which in this case is the applicant, to prove either public convenience or necessity, okay, necessity being a benefit or convenience being a benefit to the community. So if that's found, then it's your call ultimately on whether you want to take which one of those 3 actions you'd like to take. But the burden does rest on them to prove to you, to your adequate measure, which way it should go. Secondly, regardless of your findings, regardless of your decision, I really encourage you to try to really think about and kind of enunciate on the record here tonight, your bases for that. Why? So, whether you deny or approve or decline to act, we should try to be somewhat specific in that. And then finally, in terms of kind of protocol, the staff report talks about the 3 options, but I think it would be best, my suggestion would be that ultimately, regardless of how you determine on the PCN at the end, that we close the public hearing, continue the item for purposes of considering a resolution on your decision, whichever decision that may be, at the next hearing. And that'll allow us to simply make sure the resolution accurately reflects whatever the factors are that lead you to whatever decision it is that you might make. And that'll be considered at the next Planning Commission meeting. So that would be my recommended action regardless of what your motion ultimately is in terms of your decision.
Could you repeat that last item? Let me see if I understand it correctly. You're saying to continue the item and craft a resolution, try to craft a resolution, and then we'd ultimately vote on that at the next Planning Commission meeting.
Correct. That's correct. Exactly. The resolution will reflect your findings here today. This, by the way, goes for items number 5 and 6, since we have 2 appeals, very similar in nature here. So the resolution where we'll just simply put in writing in kind of a clear format your findings, your decision, and the bases for that decision. So the motion, I would recommend that the motion ultimately include your decision, and then to close the public hearing and continue the item to the next Planning Commission meeting, date and time, and the resolution be considered then.
All right. I think we're on to opening the public hearing. I'm sorry. First, we're going to go, any questions from the commission to staff?
Actually, I have a question for our city attorney, or our council attorney, or commissioner attorney. I'm not sure. Whatever your role is, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
And I have, I guess, concern. Your recommendation as far as continuing. I understand why. I'm a former attorney myself. I get it. It's more than anything else, it's making sure we dot the I's, cross the T's. I just have mixed emotions because regardless of whether we say yay or nay, we're making a business owner wait an additional 2 weeks minimum to find out the next step in their process. And time is money to these guys either way. And so I'm just make sure that, again, I understand it's your recommendation and you've laid out fairly clearly why. I'm just, is that our only option? Is that just our best option?
That's in my opinion, the best option. It really is. We want to make sure that regardless of what your decision is, that it's clearly enunciated, obviously, and then it's going to be, able to clearly describe to the applicant and to the public what the reasons were for those. So that's why we think I personally think it's the best decision. I do recommend that approach. I'm a business owner myself, so I can certainly appreciate that concern as well. That being said, it's your prerogative which way you want to go on that, but I would recommend that you continue it for consideration of a resolution on your decision.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? All right. Yes, we will. We will have more time for questions later. So now I'd like to open the public hearing. And as this is a public hearing, the public has the right to voice their ask questions. I can speak for all of us on the commission saying that we truly do appreciate your comments, your questions. To ensure the public hearing runs smoothly, in accordance with approved procedure, staff and/or the commission will address any applicable questions after everyone has an opportunity to speak. Do we have anyone who wants to speak? We'll start with the applicant.
Steve Rawlings.
If you can again state your name and city of residence, appreciate it.
Good evening, Honorable Chairman and members of the Commission. Good evening. My name is Steve Rawlings. I'm here representing 99 Cannoli Stores. My place of business is in Marietta, California, over the hill. I have had the distinct honor of and pleasure of working with the folks at 99 Cannoli Stores. I'm an independent consultant to them, assisting them with permits and licenses necessary to be able to sell beer and wine in their stores throughout the state of California. We currently have approximately, when I say we, please understand that that's just semantics. I'm technically not an employee of the corporation, but 99 Cannoli Stores has approximately 250 stores here in the state of California. We have 300 stores throughout the western United States. I do have a bit of a formal presentation that I'd like to present to you folks. But before that, was there a video? Was that able to? Yeah, I wanted to kind of just do a little bit of a video there because I'm trying to kind of create a little bit of a flavor. There's through the last couple of years in which I've worked with 99 cent only stores, I have found that a lot of communities aren't overly familiar with who 99 cent only stores are today and where we're looking to be in the future. And so it's kind of important to kind of to us to be able to accurately describe who we are, because sometimes our name has certain connotations, and people's perception is based on sometimes what our stores were in the 80s, and now we're in the year 2014. So I believe this video is about 2 minutes long, and I'll cut it off in a second.
I make every penny count, and I do mean pennies. I make gourmet meals, all from ingredients that I buy at the 99 cent store. When I was a student, I was forced to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and ramen, but I wasn't used to that. That wasn't because I didn't know better, it was because I didn't have the money. So I gave the 99 cent store a chance. At first I just went there for cleaning supplies, and then I actually just saw a woman buying wine. I didn't even think to buy the wine. I saw a woman dressed to the nines, loading up her cart. I guess because of the way she looked, I trusted her. I was like, maybe I'll like it, tasted it, it was delicious, and loaded up the cart. And that's when I decided, if they have good wine, they probably have good food. You have to understand, you're not buying things that are made with 99 cent quality. There have been $70 bottles of wine sold at the 99 cent store because they only have 6 more months on the shelf for a shelf life. So I'll buy that one. I'd be happy to buy that one. It's gourmet recipes at inexpensive prices. This is my favorite section, and it's the gourmet section, and you can just find what you're looking for. Crushed chilies, roasted red peppers, shiitake mushroom marinated, cinnamon, rosemary, ginger. Come here for your spices. It's ridiculous not to, really. I dabbled with a few recipes. One recipe led to another, and all of a sudden, I had enough for a book. My friends got introduced to my little adventure unwittingly. I did have one friend, and I love this story. She called. She was on her way over. She said, I'm going to have to eat something before I can think about tonight. Okay, I'll look something up. And she walked in, started shoveling down the food. I was talking about my cookbook. And she said, Christian, it's a great idea, but you would not catch me alive eating anything from that book. And I was like, gotcha. Cash out of the bag for me. I can't invite anybody over. I can't make filet mignon from the nicest store ever. Everybody's going to think it's 99 cents. But it's a really rewarding thing to make something really delicious and then tell people after.
Anyway, with that, I like to kind of show that to people there because it emphasizes an emphasis that we're trying to highlight at the stores, is that over the years we've evolved into a grocery type of store where over 50% of our products are definitely food and grocery types of items, and I think that video gives you a pretty good idea of the types of selections that we offer. I think oftentimes people think that we're only offering these generic brands that nobody's ever heard of for very, very, very cheap dollars, and there's this instant perception that the product quality is not there, and I think that helps dispel a lot of the rumors that, or a lot of the perceptions that the products that we're offering are not high quality products. I would say that the products that we're offering are by the major manufacturers that we all have grown accustomed to, and we're very, very proud of the fact that we're able to pass along a lot of savings to a lot of hardworking families that are seeking out high-quality products from major manufacturers, and that they have found those to be readily available at the 99 cent only stores at very, very competitive prices. So with that, I wanted to give a short presentation about 99-cent only stores. I'll go through it relatively quickly and then get to the meat and potatoes of the findings for public convenience or necessity, which is what we're here for. But if you'll afford me just a couple more minutes to give a little bit more information about 99-cent only stores. We go to the next slide. We were founded in 1982. There's over 300 stores, California, Arizona, Nevada, and Texas. The 99-cent only stores average someplace between, say, 17,000 and 25,000 square feet in size, which we have found has been an optimal size for being able to provide a wide variety of products, grocery products. Although I'll give you a little bit of a story about how we're able to get all these products in the stores. We're selling quite a few grocery items, and there's a quick list of most of the types of products that you'll see there, which is pretty standard for what most of us would expect to find in a grocery type of store. Our customer profile is something that's very, very important to us. We're very, very proud of the customers that we have been able to establish and make loyal customers of 99-cent only stores. Our typical customer is going to be that's a wide range, 30 to 70 years old, but our typical customers are going to be a lady that is taking on the primary responsibilities for shopping for the family, and typically they're shopping for the family. And we also, our other very, very large demographic that we cater to are senior citizens that are on fixed incomes. Our shoppers are extremely cost conscious. They're typically working on a pretty finite budget. These are paycheck to paycheck types of families, and our senior citizens are on fixed incomes, and those are our typical types of customers. They are averaging coming to our stores twice a week. Sometimes they're coming to the store more often than that. The other really key component about our typical customer is that not only are they very, very cost conscious, and they've gotten used to the idea that they can come in and get high quality products from brand name manufacturers at very, very good prices, but because we're 20,000 square feet, that's a huge advantage for our customers, because they can get in and out of the stores 10 to 15 minutes. They can do the type of shopping that they're looking to do, which is to buy diapers and to buy other groceries and soap, et cetera, and be in and out of the store in 10 to 15 minutes. And that's very, very important to the demographic that comes to our stores. They're usually two workers in the family. Both of them hold jobs down. They're running home after work, got kids that need to do homework and go to soccer practice or football practice, et cetera, and they don't have a lot of time. And I think we've all had that experience when you go into some other of these larger types of grocery stores, or the Walmarts or the Super Targets, and boy, try to get out of there in 10 or 15 minutes. It's just not going to happen. So the 99-cent only store concept of offering a large variety of products in a 20,000 square foot store is just magnificent to most of our customers. If you haven't had an opportunity to shop at 99-cent only stores, I really encourage you to take the trip back to the back where we keep all of the produce, and you'll be pleasantly surprised. We have very high quality produce. We're just like any other retailer. We go out and buy from the same places that any of the other retailers do, and we're very, very happy with the produce selection, and it seemingly keeps growing because it's a very, very large seller for us. As you probably saw a little bit in the video, we do have some gourmet foods. In addition to that, we do carry fresh baked goods, which are big sellers for us also. And we carry your traditional, types of grocery items there. You got Uncle Ben's, rice, and you got Duncan Hines cake mix and Mrs. Field cookie mix, et cetera, et cetera. We carry, we do carry a variety of meats. I think you guys are probably familiar with some of those brands, and I also like to point out, this slide I'll stop for just a second, because do you see there, that's the toothpaste section? And I tell everybody, they say, well, gee, these other stores that are 50,000 square feet, how can you possibly carry as many products as they do? And I say, well, the toothpaste is a great example right there. I counted it up. There's like 19 different types of toothpaste that you can purchase there, but if you go to these big stores, there's like 50. By the time you figure out that there's Colgate and Crest and AIM and Pepsodent, then you got mint gel flavor, and you got regular flavor, and you got tartar control, and then you got the big size, you got the little size, and you got the medium size. It's easy to come up with like 50 different toothpaste to pick from. We work pretty closely with our manufacturers to find out what are the most popular sizes and flavors. That's what we stock, and that's what most hardworking families are looking for, because that's where we can provide the best value, because those manufacturers, those are their most popular items. That's what they're making the most of, and that's how we're able to, offer the same types of products you might find in a store that has a much larger square footage. Next slide. That is our typical wine display. We dedicate only 12 lineal feet of our shelf space to the display of beer and wine, and that is what is typical in any of our stores and in other municipalities. We have agreed to a condition of approval that states that it will be only 12 feet, so that overnight we don't create this large liquor store overnight. And I would say that that's very good public policy, by the way, on future applications. And that's our typical wine display that we would have there. And again, it's 4 shelf sections, and it's wine and beer on the same shelf there. Now, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit, before I got into the meat and potatoes, about the public convenience and necessity. The dispensing of alcoholic beverages can sometimes raise some very, very serious concerns with communities about public safety in general. I was happy to see that the police report for both of these applications that we filed seemed to indicate that they had very, very few concerns with regards to selling beer and wine from our stores there. But we take the dispensing of beer and wine extremely seriously. 99 Cent Only Stores is a very, very well-established corporation with, I think, approximately 2,000 employees. So we have very, very strict guidelines and strict policies that we follow to run a very good operation, but also that we're mandated to run. I think that most of you know that we have a fiduciary responsibility to our employees to provide them with a safe working environment, and so that we take our store safety, our store security extremely, extremely seriously. And I wanted to just outline a couple of things as it relates to beer and wine sales. We do actually have internal training for our employees that are actively involved in the selling of beer and wine. That's cashiers. We clearly review with them what the ABC laws are, because they are subject to those, and I'll touch on that in a second. We also train our folks about issues that result or that are caused by shoplifting and loitering. We train our employees to what to look for and what to do in certain situations, because again, we have a fiduciary responsibility to our employees to provide a safe environment. And we go through great lengths to make sure that they are properly trained, to make sure that we don't have incidences at our stores. And we also work very, very closely with local law enforcement to make sure that our store is safe, and that we don't have loitering, and that we do reasonable measures to prevent any type of shoplifting. One of the things I wanted to talk about with the ABC laws that a lot of people don't understand is that if I'm a cashier and I sell to a minor, I am actually personally liable for that action. Personally. I can't just duck behind and say, oh, I am an employee of the corporation. The employee, fined the corporation and I get a slap on the wrist. No. That's not the case with the ABC laws. If I did it, I personally have a problem with that. So that's one thing that I want to emphasize, and that we make that perfectly clear to all of our individual employees, that they have some individual responsibility. But we take a couple of extra measures there to help make sure that we are in compliance with a couple of major issues that sometimes occur. We obviously provide surveillance cameras throughout the store. We keep the data on our database for over 30 days. And cooperate with local law enforcement if they're interested in seeing our surveillance videos. The next item is our point of sale system, and this is a very, very important note. 99-cent only stores, when you're ringing up a purchase, and I ring up some pasta sauce and then some milk and then a bottle of wine and then some diapers, the point of sale system prompts the cashier to scan the ID, the ID, and it goes through our point of sale system. If there's a failure to scan a valid ID, then the transaction cannot be completed, and then a store manager is notified. So that is like an internal safeguard that we put in with our stores. Again, by the way, that's a very good public policy thing, that any retailer that's doing that, it's not an overly expensive item to require them to have that system in place, but it's an excellent checks and balances to take out a little bit of the human error element. So that's one of the things I wanted to highlight there. We don't advertise our beer or wine in the windows. You won't walk up to a 99-cent store and find out that there's wine for sale for $3.99. That's just not part of our policy. And that the beer and wine sales that we're doing, it's intended to be an incidental sale to our customers that come to our store and treat our store as their primary grocery store, where they're coming every day or a couple days a week to purchase those things that we all consume on a daily basis. Where we're not out there trying to promote specials on wine to bring in new customers. The other thing that I already touched upon is that we only dedicate 12 lineal feet to beer and wine. And at the present time, we don't propose to provide any of the beer and wine for sale in our coolers. Next slide. So we come down to public convenience and necessity, and I think as your attorney kind of alluded to, I wanted to touch on this for just a second. The finding of public convenience or necessity is actually a rather broad concept, and that there's a lot of broad latitude with your findings on this, and it can be for many, many different reasons. And I wanted to highlight a couple of reasons why it's important to 99 cents only to sell beer and wine. Number one, it is a standard product that we're trying to offer in all of our stores. We don't offer it right now in all those stores, hence that's why I'm here, and we're actively seeking permits through many, many different communities up and down the state of California, because it is integral to our business as we have evolved into a grocery store, and we have become the primary grocery store for so many people in every community that we serve, that it is necessary for us to stay competitive with other major chains out there to be able to offer our customers all of the products that they're used to being able to buy at a grocery store. So for our business model and for our business to succeed going forward and accomplish the goals that we would like to do, which would be to open more stores and employ more people and to contribute more sales tax to the communities that we serve, we need the ability to be able to offer that product to our customers. Another item that is of consideration is that it genuinely is a convenience to a shopper to be able to go to a store, and we've all become accustomed to being able to purchase pasta and pasta sauce and deli meats and diapers and baby formula and an alcoholic beverage to be able to take back to your home there. We've become accustomed to being able to make all of those purchases in one location. And we have established ourselves clearly as people's primary source for those types of products. It is very much a convenience for them to be able to make all of those purchases in one place rather than purchase so many of the high-quality grocery items that they're seeking from our store and then have to physically get into their vehicle and drive to another location to make the purchase of beer and wine. And I would submit to you that that is clearly a convenience to those shoppers. And we have a very, very large following in the city of Lake Forest. We have a very large senior citizen population that that goes to our store in El Toro, on El Toro Road, that I know of, that I confirmed with our store manager, and we have a lot of folks in your community that are coming to our stores. The store on El Toro Road, I think, has been open for 10 years. I apologize. I think it's been there for 10 years. We've established ourselves and have developed a very, very loyal customer base. And for those customers, it certainly would be a convenience to be able to make that ancillary, incidental purchase of beer and wine with the rest of their grocery products. There are people that are stretched for time. In the first place, it does reduce trips on your roads by having them to be able to make that purchase there, and again, it saves each of those folks some time. So, when you're considering this evening, there's some communities that we've had big issues, that there've been big concerns with security, and that doesn't seem to be the issue here. The issue here is would it serve a public convenience or a necessity? And I would submit to you that very much so it would. The customers that are going there now are inconvenienced when they have to make multiple stops to get the products that they get on a daily basis anyway. There is a need, for businesses like ours that have been established in this to be able to continue to offer, certain products to our community. And we have done a very, very good job since 1982 responding to the demands of the customers that we serve, and we have evolved our product line over the years. We've invested millions upon millions of dollars, and we are on a capital campaign right now that is a staggering amount of money to continue to remodel our stores. We just got done doing a 5-year capital campaign. New CEO took over just in the last 9 months, and we are refixturizing probably 100% of our stores over the next 3 years, again, to upgrade and to respond to, customer needs. And the sale of beer and wine is certainly instrumental in our business plan and our ability to be able to be a go-to retailer for the the folks that live here in Lake Forest. Do I have one more slide? No, I am done. I could go on forever, but I think I've said what I needed to say, and I appreciate your attention to my comments. I did leave you a little bit of corporate propaganda here that I think is probably just highlighting some of the things that I had already said there. But 99-cent only stores is a great company. They've represented being a great employer and have continued to grow right here in Southern California year in and year out. And I think it's just because of their commitment to serving the needs of the customers that have gone to count on them. And they're extremely prideful of the fact that they're able to offer name brand products at prices that are a lot less than some of the competitors out there. We're not ashamed of that at all. We're proud of that, and we're proud of the customers that we've been able to establish, and we're just looking to be able to serve them better. So with that, thank you very much, and I'm certainly available to answer any questions that you may have.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you for coming tonight. Obviously, no decision has been made already, but I think you have 3 stores now in Lake Forest?
That's my understanding. I've only 2 of them have hit my desk, but my speculation is I will be submitting another application soon.
So we love businesses expanding to help residents and other businesses in the area in Lake Forest. Any questions for the applicant?
I have one question, if you don't mind. How are the sales going for the 2 stores? Are you doing well at El Toro and at Foothill Ranch?
This is always a funny thing. We have a new CEO, and of course, what we did last year is not enough. But to answer your question relative to our other stores, we're certainly happy with the sales numbers that we have in the El Toro store and the store up in Town Center, and obviously the competitive market, especially in Orange County, because there's always new retailers popping up. So we need to stay competitive by investing more money into our stores and to be able to offer products. But yeah, the El Toro store has been there for, I want to say it's like 12 years now that they've been operating there, and yeah, we have seen steady growth each year.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ludden?
When did you embark on this program to add alcoholic beverages to your stores? What year?
I can honestly not tell you what when the first one was, but it was over 10 years ago, and it was in a store that we took over from another grocery store, and that was our first introduction into selling beer and wine. But over the last 10 years, we've made a vast commitment to be doing a lot more grocery products, and I would say in the last 5 years, we've made a consistent effort to adding that product to each of our stores.
Do you plan to keep the amount of store space that you use to sell alcohol at about the same level of the 12 linear feet, or is there plans to change that? You mentioned that was a strategic part of their selling plan, and does that mean that you'll place more emphasis on that in the future, or are you pretty well committed to this 12 linear feet?
12 linear feet is, from what I understand, the business model, and that's where footage that we're dedicating to the display of beer and wine. I do know some stores during the holiday season might add one more shelf space to that because they might be carrying champagnes and some other types of products, but it's intended to be a incidental sale. And I offer that as a real commitment, and I have worked with other cities, and we've agreed to a condition of approval that says you can sell it, but you've got to be less than 12 lineal feet of space, and we've been perfectly happy with that.
What typical price range do you sell your alcoholic beverages in?
The lowest price wine that we have offered is $2.99, but typically it's $4.99. And then the beer products, I'm not as well versed on the beer products because 12 packs are usually in the $9.99 range is a typical 12-pack of beer. I see most of our stores are more outfitted with wine more than they are beer, and I don't know exactly why that is, but that is their typical product mix.
Okay. In terms of your POS system, you indicated that it scans driver's licenses. What kind of database do you use to verify the driver's license?
I believe that there is a 2 or 3 third-party services that we're able to use, because I don't think that the state allows to directly link into the state database, but there are third-party providers that do have a pretty good database. I would tell you, I don't think I would bet that it's 100% accurate all of the time. I think that would be a little bit erroneous, but it certainly has gone a long ways in deterring any type of people trying to purchase that shouldn't be purchasing.
What do you do to take care of people loitering outside your store? Or in particular, I'm interested in adults that will go into a store and buy liquor for a minor and then sell it to them. Do you have any provision for dealing with people like that? Because I know that was a big problem with 7-Eleven stores.
That's a very, very hot topic with our company. I was at a meeting up in Fairfield, California, just 2 weeks ago, and we met with the police department out with our store manager, because our store manager has been proactively worried about the same types of issue, loitering. Loitering is absolutely disastrous for us. It scares away the customers that we want. So we have gone through great lengths to train our managers on how to approach these individuals and to work with local law enforcement and pick up the phone and be the squeaky wheel to escort those people off the property. There are some communities that we've signed no trespassing agreements with on properties that we own. We can sign that agreement with the law enforcement so that law enforcement can run right through our parking lot, and if they see anybody loitering, they don't have to come ask me to complain about it. I've already complained. I signed this no trespassing agreement, and law enforcement will go through and sweeps, and if they see it, they'll cuff them and run them away. So the formula for dealing with loitering is a sensitive one, because it can provide a potentially dangerous atmosphere. And so typically, we try to work with local law enforcement as much as we can. Oftentimes, if there's just some kids running around there, the store manager can come and say, hey, guys, girls, gotta go. If you don't get out of here, I'm going to call the police, and usually they skedaddle. And most adults are the same way. Usually you can just ask them to leave, and they do. But there are some instances that you don't have that. So our store managers are graded on not only the interior of their store, but the exterior of their store, too. When the district managers come around, they're out there scanning and taking pictures of the parking lot, about our shopping carts, about trash that's out in front of our store there, and of course, if we've got an uninviting environment because we've got, loitering that's going on there. So it's something that we try to tackle head on. It's not anything that we're interested in doing. I can tell you a little bit of a statistic about adults buying for minors at stores. It's actually plummeted in the last 20 years. And the reason it has plummeted is because of the water bottle. The water bottle is the reason that has plummeted. Because the easiest way for a minor to get alcohol is to go into their kitchen, take a water bottle, pour it into the plant, walk over to the liquor cabinet, pour vodka into the water bottle, and leave the house. And put it in their backpack and take it to school and drink it all day long. That's the truth. I happen to sit on the board of directors of an organization called Riverside Recovery Resources. We're the largest, we provide the greatest number of treatment to teenagers in Riverside County. We treat about 1,200 high-risk juveniles on drug and alcohol. And that's a statistic that we figured out and that we've come to realize. That so you don't have as many kids sitting out there saying, hey, give you a 20, go in there and buy me a 12-pack of beer. Why would you do that? You can go over to Billy's house, go empty out a water bottle because mom and dad don't keep the vodka thing, pour it out, go fill up the vodka bottle full of tap water, put it back, and mom and dad don't know. And I like I said, we counsel a lot of teenagers in the nonprofit that I work for, and they tell us, why would we go do that? That's against the law. I'll just go take it from mom and dad. And unfortunately, that I think all of us are shaking our heads, going, yeah, that's probably exactly what they would do. So that still does occur, sir, but certainly not on the level that I think that when I was a young person that it did, and it's because of the water bottles.
But your store managers do watch for that sort of thing potentially happening?
Absolutely. Our store managers, if they're stuck back in their offices, they're going to be fired. They're supposed to be out on the floor with our customers and out into the area to know what is going on at all times. And back in the day, you used to think of store managers back there in their office doing whatever they count stuff, and our store managers are out there to monitor the store activity, and a big part of that is to make it an inviting shopping environment, and running out loitering is certainly a part of that job.
Do any of your surveillance cameras view the area in front of your store, or do you do any surveillance in front of the store?
On some of our stores we do. We have right at the entries, we always have surveillance cameras on the entrance and exit on that. Some of the shopping centers, we don't own all of our properties. We do own some of the properties, and at that point in time, we will put surveillance cameras out in the parking lots because we own the property, but in other shopping centers, we're not allowed to because of the landlord and CC&Rs and things like that.
What do you do about selling to an intoxicated customer? What's your policy on dealing with that?
We're not supposed to be selling to them. And that's an ABC law that we go through at length to train our people on. As obviously you can't sell to underage people, but you also cannot, by law, sell to a clearly intoxicated person. And our cashiers are trained to bring the store manager over and observe the person, and we have refused the sale to people, and sometimes they get a little boisterous, and sometimes we have to call the police and have them escorted off the property, but it's an absolute, you cannot do it, and we try to err on the side of caution. If somebody's appearing to be acting a little funny, don't sell it to them.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. It's a very informative presentation. You've taken away some of my fears about approving these licenses. I have some sort of reluctance to approving some of these types of things because sometimes it's an easy way into a license.
And when you're working with somebody like the 99-cent only stores, we have corporate policies and procedures in place. We have a lot at stake. So we have zero tolerance policies with our employees because we have so much at stake. If it gets out that we are having constant violations of our ABC license over here, you guys will find out about it. And the next community will find out about it, the next community will find out about it, and the ABC will start finding us, and those fines get to be rather steep. And obviously that's not something that the corporation would like to encounter.
So you do monitor the violations at a corporate level very carefully?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm not aware of any violations that we've had in the last, since I've been associated with the company for the last 3 years.
Okay.
And that's a public record. Anybody can actually do a search on
the ABC database and look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for answering my questions. I really appreciate your time coming here to make this presentation.
Certainly. Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Before you do, can I just add just one question, a clarification based on the last line of questions? You are applying for the Type 20 license, which is only beer and wine.
That is correct.
I know we had some discussion about liquor. I just wanted to make sure that everyone's clear. You are applying for the Type 20 license, just beer and wine.
Beer and wine only, correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you again. I enjoyed your presentation. I actually shop on occasion for my family and quite regularly for work at the Foothill Ranch 99-cent only store. So
thank you.
The stores have definitely come a long way. The one down by El Toro, parking's a nightmare, and that's not on you, but it's always going to be a nightmare. Which is why I was happy to see the Foothill Ranch one. But 11 years ago, I think it was 2003 or so, when that store first opened, I went in to check out the new store and was not impressed and didn't go back for a long time. And a few years ago, went back for something out of necessity and said, "Wow, it's really different." So, I will echo that sentiment. You guys really have committed to improving quality of product as well as comfort and convenience of the stores. I just want to, for my own clarification, and maybe in case anybody else is concerned or didn't pick up on it, I don't know. In our staff report, page 33, it's 5 of 9 on this particular item number. About 2/3 of the way down, it specifically says there are 8 cash registers located near the front entrance of the store. The proposed beer and wine would be located in refrigerated coolers at the rear. And then your up here said 12 linear feet of warm product. And so that was an inconsistency I wanted to make sure was addressed and make sure that we're clear where we're standing on what you're actually asking for.
We're not. I apologize. That may have been a typo there. We're not proposing to put any beer or wine in coolers.
Okay. And that actually, my other question was a stem off of that, so it's a little reduced here, but it's still a concern for me. And it's actually on your letter as part of attachment 1 with the appeal. It's page 47 of our report, where it talks about the beer and wine types and quantities. Specifically, I have concern over individual 12-ounce cans of beer.
Mm-hmm.
It's less of a concern if they're not already cold, but for me personally, if I buy a one-off, and it's probably been 20 years since I have, but if I buy a single can of beer, it's because I want to pop it open and drink it, and not because I want to take it home with my groceries. And so that particular item is a point of concern for me. And I'm curious, especially with issues of loitering that were brought up by Commissioner Ludden, it would seem that particular product is more prone to the sitting in the parking lot drinking after you bought it as opposed to taking it home with groceries. And so have you noticed any, at your end, any issues with enforcement on that particular product line?
We have not, but I'm a realist, and I would agree with you on your observation that somebody purchasing a 12-pack is probably likely to put it in their trunk and drive home with it, whereas if you have a single, yeah, that would certainly be pretty easy to just pop it and drive it. And in those situations where that concern has arisen, we have had no issues with agreeing to a condition of approval for no single sales, because it's not necessary for our business model. It is convenient because you can sell those for less than 99 cents, which is kind of one of those leftover legacies that we still kind of semi-hold on to. But we have not had any issues if a commission would like to restrict the ability to be able to sell singles because of that concern. If that would ameliorate your concerns, we have no issues. It's not vital to our business model to be able to sell those single beers. One of the things that we have found is that because it's a warm storage, you certainly don't get that as often as you do like at a convenience store where they're pulling out a cold one. That those things get drunk a lot in the cars. Just being honest.
Right. No, absolutely. The cold 22 goes in the brown paper bag and gets opened. It just does. So.
And certainly we don't want people out there consuming alcohol in front of our stores. It's not what we're all about, and it's not conducive to the environment we're trying to provide.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a few. So as a follow-up question to that, I have a similar concern about the single use. Would you be willing to a condition of approval of having like a warmer in that area to keep beer extra warm to not even tempt someone to? That was just a joke. So is on page 33. This I guess is a question for more staff and for the applicant. I'm curious if the hours of operation of the store, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., I think is what you state is the hours for this location, and if there is the surrounding businesses that have ABC license currently, does that is there more of a convenience? Do any of the other stores have least restrictive times? I.e., would it be a convenience if there's no stores open from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m.? Is that was that a determination or a point of research that has been conducted for the time frame?
We didn't do any research on that, but the closest ones are Ralph's and Smart and Final, and I imagine they have very similar hours. I don't know their exact hours though.
Okay. And another question kind of along those lines, were there any products that were different from surrounding stores that you might offer, like just off the top of my head, ethnic or other, types of, do you have any unique offerings that other stores don't carry or wouldn't carry?
I will say absolutely we do. If you go actually and look at our wine selection, you can go into any of the retailer stores and you'll find like Barefoot happens to be a pretty hot commodity right now in the wine business, and you'll find a lot of Gallo products. While we do carry some of that stuff, you'll find that we actually carry a lot of Italian wines. We're able to get those at very good prices and be able to pass those along. So I would assert to you that we offer a very, very eclectic wine offering at a very, very competitive price. And I think as you saw in the video there, she wasn't talking about buying like the Barefoots or the Gallos, and she wasn't making it up that we're able to get our hands on like $70 bottles of wine. And so yeah, very, very much so. We have a lot of people that come there because we don't offer the same product month in and month out. I mean, I've been seeing this, the local Ralph's that I've at, there's been this Barefoot display there for like 3 years now. That's why I happen to know it's a really hot product. That's not what we do. We mix our product quite a bit, and we have a lot of people that look forward to, the different types of wines that we do bring in. And that's kind of a little known fact, but we're actually very, very proud of that, that we are able to offer a variety of wines, and you won't find the same thing every, month in, month out.
So maybe, thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation too. I forgot to mention that. So let me ask you: do you know if your hours are different than any of the surrounding within the census tract? The hours of operation of any of the other ABC licensed?
I don't believe so. I think that Ralph's opens at 6 or 7. Actually, they may open at 6. They do a little bit more bakery type of business than we do, so and a little bit of coffee in there, so they open up a little bit earlier. I actually believe that this store may actually open at 8 typically, although during seasonal times of the year we may extend our hours to open at 7 a.m. versus the typical 8 a.m. We do find that, like, believe it or not, we are open on Thanksgiving Day, but we will open the store at 7 as opposed to 8 because there's a lot of people in a panic trying to get some stuff to cook. So I believe that most grocery store types of stores are open somewhere between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning and stay open until about 10 o'clock at night.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the applicant or staff at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll see if any members of the public want to talk.
Victor Cheer.
And again, if you can restate your name and your city of residence, we'd greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
My name is Victor Shear. I'm a long-time resident of Lake Forest, and this is my first time making public comment, but I was looking forward to have this opportunity because I feel very strong to voice my comment as to have this particular situation denied, both 5 and 6, 2 locations. Prior to the 99 store coming in, it was a thrifty store, if you might remember, in 2003, and that whole corner, which is on the corner of Rockfield and El Toro, is perhaps one of the most congested areas that we have in the city. Very condensed. Across the street, we have Ralph's, just about, a couple of super beverage dispensers from Bevmo, and probably the 5 licensed establishments are right within that quarter-of-a-mile radius. My concern is very simply that there's no necessity for another dispenser of beer and wine. Number 2, having been in both locations in Town Center and the one on El Toro Road, it's a very family-oriented environment. The low pricing attracts families on limited incomes, and I think it does a wonderful service to the community. And it's very important that we have those type of operations in the city. The city traditionally has been very business-friendly to encourage competition, to encourage businesses to move in our community, and that will certainly continue. However, we must take into account the health and safety of our residents, number 1, and number 2, that since the clientele of the 99-cent store is very family-oriented, with a lot of seniors, to have beer and wine offered would be detrimental in draining off discretionary funds that these families have to purchase beverages of wine and beer. The 99 store philosophy, by all means, is price undercutting the competition to attract business. Number 2, for that reason alone, they would probably lowball their products on the pricing side to be competitive with the existing businesses that are primarily focused on discounted beer and wine, Bevmo being one, and the other supermarket of liquor and Beer and Wine is on the other side of the freeway, across from Laguna Hills Mall. So it seems to me, with the heavy saturation that we have, there's absolutely no justification to approve this. As far as convenience, no. There is many outlets in the radius up and down El Toro Road that will allow residents to easily secure beer and wine products. As a matter of fact, across the street is, guess what? CVS. They do a landslide business. Up in El Toro Road, past Laguna Hills Mall, is another CVS that caters to the seniors. I cannot understand why consideration, after the city staff has thoroughly analyzed this, for an appeal to be justified. In the Town and Country location, that's going right into the residential area that's being developed for new homes in Baker Ranch. That's the last thing that I think should be considered as part of that area to allow 99-cent stores to offer beer and wines, particularly to the demographic profile that the 99-cent store caters to, which is to families and limited income. So I've been in a 99-cent store, and I have purchased, and they have a wide variety of items that you can choose from. But to have beer and wine in there with children, to make it very easy for families to divert funds from their necessities, no. Absolutely not. The location in El Toro, formerly, as I mentioned, as a thrift store, is right across from home base. It's probably, the traffic is just terrible as it is.
Just to let you know, the red lights come on, so if you could try wrapping up your comments.
So in summary, I believe I've given enough thoughts about this that I addressed the commission to deny the 5 and 6. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. The next speaker.
Jim Gardner.
Again, if you can restate your name, city of address.
Good evening, Jim Gardner. I live in Lake Forest. I like the 99-cent store. My wife loves the 99-cent store. When I worked with mentally retarded adults, they loved the 99-cent store because they had limited money. They go in there. So, hey, I love 99 cents. My wife is dying for the new 99-cent store to open. That being said, we live in Lake Forest. We have our fair share of DUIs. We average about 200 a year. That's 200 too many. 200 is not a low number of DUIs. 200 a year is 200 too many. We average about 50 violations of alcohol laws in public drunkenness a year. That's also too many. Why on earth, as Victor said, would we be adding more booze, more beer and alcohol into areas that are already oversaturated when we have a serious DUI in alcohol and drunkenness problems? And again, 200 is 200 too many. Well, our 99-cent store, I love a 99-cent store, says they need to be competitive. They have over $1 billion in assets. Their net income last year was over $22 million. They say on their website that they have the highest sales per square feet of any dollar store. So honestly, folks, I don't think they have a problem being competitive. They say it's convenient one location shopping. I just wrote down, when my family and I shop for groceries, we go to Costco, Smart and Final, Albertsons, Trader Joe, the Iranian Market in Mission Viejo, Walmart, and the 99-cent store. I don't know anybody who goes to one place to do all their shopping. That's just silly. Or maybe there are people like that, but I don't know anybody like that. So it isn't convenient. It isn't a necessity for them, and it's certainly not a necessity for a city with 200 DUIs. If they were putting the 99-cent store in an area oversaturated, no one would have a problem with that. That's why there is saturation. Oh, talking about saturation, I'm a little worried. On the one hand, the staff tell us that there are three recommended, but there are 5, and then there are 2 recommended and 7. But in their report, both of it is identical, says 2 out of 8. In other words, it looks to, and I'm deferring to our staff, looks to me like they made a mistake in doing that. Look to, was it you who caught them on the mistake with warm versus cold? These people are making a lot of mistakes for people who we're then going to trust selling alcohol. If this is the best they can do, trying to convince you and come here with mistakes, I think that's a poor job. Nobody tell my wife that I said these things. I'll be sleeping in the guest house. And it's nothing against 99-cent store. It's a great store. But I think with our alcoholism and the oversaturation, I cannot see how you can conscientiously do anything. I urge you to deny it.
Thank you for comments. Do we have any other speakers? Thought I'd give anyone else the chance if they're in the audience and want to make any public comments tonight for this item. All right, I guess we'll bring it back to the commission if there's any additional questions to staff.
I'd like to ask the staff why they denied the license in the first place, why they denied the PCN in the first place.
The PCN was denied based on that there wasn't enough evidence in the information. We obviously didn't have this presentation tonight, but the information they gave us, we didn't feel there was enough information to show that public convenience and necessity had been met.
What's your criteria for determining that level of evidence? I'm just trying, for my own understanding, I'm not being critical in any way, I'm just trying to understand what the criteria is.
Maybe I can a little bit on that one. The criteria, it's pretty broad. Again, I think there's a lot of discretion vested in the decision maker in determining whether they feel that burden has been met. So it's a combination of looking and evaluating the kinds of evidence or offerings that have been made by the applicant. I understand that there's been additional information provided here compared to what was provided to staff initially. So based on that, then they can use that discretion to determine whether they feel that public convenience or necessity has been found. It's a very broad standard.
Any other questions, staff?
It's more just an observation, but I'm going to piggyback a little bit on something that the attorney just stated. I was planning on bringing this up later, but it seems like the appropriate time based on what he just said. There is a tremendous amount of discretion vested in the decision maker on these policies, and just to put it on the record, I know we're not going to do anything with it tonight, and as a body I don't think we actually can do anything with it. It's for City Council. I just want to put it on the record again. I've done this, I think, every time we've come up on these PCNs. In no way meant to disparage our director. She's very talented. She's good at what she does. But I don't believe that our city policy that allows the department director to make this decision is appropriate. I think that we should always do this out in the open in front of everybody and put our reasons why on the record from the beginning. And so I just want to put that on the record.
Any other questions?
Well, I have a follow-up question for that. Maybe to the attorney. Is it city policy, or is it ABC policy that says that the development chairman or whatever Gail's title is in this case that determines accepting or denying a PCN?
The City Council adopted a resolution some time ago. I don't know if it's referenced.
1998.
Thank you. That vested that decision with the planning director if for projects that didn't need a discretionary approval. However, if you have a project that needs a discretionary approval, like a use permit or a site development permit, then that gets grouped together with the determination of public convenience or necessity and acted upon by the Planning Commission. So it is a policy of the City Council. It's not.
Is that typical of code? Most cities?
We did some research, and a lot of cities require a use permit for any type of alcohol. It's really all over the board.
Okay.
But It's up to individual cities to either codify it or adopt a resolution, as our city council has done, to determine what that policy would be.
And then follow up to your comment, Commissioner Rauer, you said it's going to the city council. That's not my understanding, that it's at this body.
No, what I mean by that is that only the city council can decide whether or not to change that resolution.
I see, thank you.
The city council has chosen the way they've chosen. I mean, it was a very drastically different body than as it's constituted today, but that's what I was referring to, though.
Any other questions of staff?
Of the other licenses that are out there right now in these two census areas, how many of those others were issued under PCNs?
Commissioner Lidd and I have that information here, and Jennifer, you can jump in at any point in time. In the census tract with the El Toro Road application, Heroes Market and Beverages and More both have PCN informations. And in the Foothill Ranch census tract, there are, let's see, make sure I get the right census tract. The Foothill Ranch census tract is split. Those are
52422.
52422.
The Foothill Car Wash, Target. Yeah.
5 PCNs for that census tract. I don't have the number of licenses in front of me, but there are 5 PCNs.
So this is not an unusual situation at City Lake Forest to issue PCNs. I'm new, so I'm just asking the question for historical purposes. It's not an unusual thing for us to do this then.
There are lots of PCNs that have been issued in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a quick observation. And I think the applicant actually addresses this a little bit in his letter, but I will say, to the extent that it benefits the applicant on this issue, part of the reason that we end up with the concentrations where we do is because that's where the commercial centers are. So there isn't as much residential. So I can understand that there's going to be some areas that are over-concentrated statutorily, and there's going to be some that have none because there's no commercial to build, a liquor store or a convenience store in. There is some rationale to that, some basis to that situation. But that said, I think there's also a basis for why we have statutory limits, and so that's the balance that we have to strike. So.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I'll start out with a comment and then open it up for comments. Since we have 5 commissioners tonight, it's my humble opinion that you never know when someone will be sick, ill, can't come to the next meeting. I think it would be wise if we even took a little recess, if we gave direction to staff, allowed them to craft the resolution, and then trying to do that tonight if we get to that point. It's just my humble opinion. So with that, who would like to comment first?
If I can piggyback on that, I'll go ahead and jump in with comments as well. The next meeting, if I'm not mistaken, is the 24th?
May 22nd.
22nd. I will be in Louisiana, so I fall right into that that he just brought up. You can decide either way. I'm only one vote, but that is something that will impact me at least if we push it to the next meeting. My niece is graduating from high school, and I haven't seen her since she was 7, so I'm going. So, okay. That said, let's get into my take on this. Some of my concerns were addressed. Specifically the single cans. I think if we do approve, I would like to see us consider requiring the no single-use beverages. I just think it's a dangerous can of worms for whatever that's worth. And the clarification on the issue of refrigerated versus not also puts some of my mind at rest. But I think at the end of the day, I'm having a hard time with this. This is an issue that it kind of hits me square in the seat because I pride myself on being not business friendly in the open doormat sense, but in the sense that I have a hard time with the government telling any business owner what they can and can't do. But we do have a responsibility to, pony up and tell them what they can and can't do in particularly defined areas, and health and human, services, health and welfare is one of those areas. And I just have a hard time, especially on this particular, I'll save comments for the other, because we're not on it yet, but it's different in that scenario, it's different facts, it's different everything. But on this specific location, the El Toro Road location, El Toro and Rockfield, that area is not growing. There's not going to be any new residential to offset. There's not going to be any sudden influx of new people, and there is already a plethora of options available. And so I have a hard time saying that we need more. And I'll stop there for now.
Okay, well, I'll step in then. I kind of saved the comments here. I've been in the store up in Foothill Ranch. I have not been in the one that we're talking about here, but I was quite surprised at the products that the store does carry. And while the applicant's presentation is very informative, I think what we have to look at here is this is much like an appeals court in a court of law is what we're really looking at. And the determining, as I see it, is to determine if an error has been made by our Director of Development Services, who is authorized to make this decision. That's already been determined. So as we go through this, the thought process has to be one of, has there been sufficient evidence presented to us tonight that would cause us to reevaluate the decision that's already been made by the Director? And if there is, then we need to overrule, and if not, then we have no authority other than to support. And so that's where I think we need to take this tonight. And I am in favor of doing it tonight if we can.
I guess we'll just kind of go from one side to the other. Sorry. In comments. I appreciate the 99-cent store. You do offer products in general to a certain clientele that I think I'm kind of more willing to become a part of. I really haven't frequented the 99-cent store, and based on your presentation tonight, I think I'm going to try and start going. So that's a clientele that I want to belong to. And thank you for coming to our city. You're expanding. Now you're going to have 3, one on Lake Forest. I think that's important to our city. And again, it's a win-win, businesses and residents, and that's always a great thing in my book. So I wrestled with the decision tonight too, and I think that just based on some of the questions and the answers that I've heard answered and asked tonight, I just don't see a certain time frame maybe that you're going to offer products that are it's going to be more convenient because that time frame. I think there are other stores that sell Italian wine. I don't know if there's any special kind of ethnic or any kind of distinct product that I think is going to be so unique to the store that I'm seeing you offering. There's no evidence that you've presented that there's going to be some additional type of product or a unique type of product that you offer. So based on that, I'm more going to deny the PCN. But again, it's something I've wrestled very hard with. I want you to know that. I think it's been a difficult decision for me, and that's where I'm at right now. Do you want to go next? Okay.
Well, I would like to say that I did have the opportunity to talk to the applicant. I had the opportunity to visit both of the stores and spoke to both of the managers. Interesting, the manager in Foothill Ranch, she worked at a store where they sold the beer and wine, and she said nobody bought the beer because it was warm, and the bottles of wine really enhanced their gourmet section. People bought more crackers and the condiments that would go with the sale of wine. She said some people even used it for cooking. And she says, I don't know why you'd use that wine for cooking, but some people did. And she had a great experience at another store with the sale of beer and wine at the 99-cent only store. Denying this PCN is really a logic that I cannot accept. The products that they are asking to provide are at basically every other place around there. They're at gas stations, they're at quickie stores, they're at grocery stores, they're at drug stores. And we've talked about the fixed income and the senior citizens that frequent these stores. I think it's very hypocritical to say to fixed income and lower income shoppers that access to these types of products, they have to go to a more expensive store. 99 cents only store is providing this type of product at a more competitive price. And why would we say to our fixed income and to our lower income residents, and even outside the city boundaries, that you have to go from here to here to here to get your weeks or your every other day grocery shopping? And I think Mr. Gardner would say, we don't want anybody on the streets, no more traffic, so let's get their shopping done all at one spot. And quite candidly, a lot of them are going out with 4 or 5 kids at night, and they can't go to Target, to Ralph's, to Bevmo. They have 2 jobs, they have limited time, and they're coming in, they're buying their 2 days, 3 days supply. They can't go to Costco. They can't afford it. So I don't think city policy should be administered in a manner that compels lower income people to shop at higher end stores. It's wrong. I really question the logic that the city needs to determine how anyone spends their money, as one of our residents said tonight. I'm appalled that we would say that it's our government's responsibility to limit families, lower income families, to the kinds of groceries that somebody else thinks they should or should not buy. I'm very passionate about this because I believe that this is a business that is offering a service to the city. They're changing the scope of their store. There could be I call them a Ralphette, because it's like a mini Ralph's. When I was speaking to the applicant, I had been into the El Toro store, and I said, well, I kind of like to shop at Ralph's and Sprouts. I probably wouldn't buy your fruits and vegetables. But then I went to Foothill Ranch, and okay, so I've got vegetables from the 99-cent store in my refrigerator tonight. I was very impressed with that store. Very clean, very nice. But I think the store that we're talking about right now is really where it hits the heart of fixed income and lower income families. And to say to them, oh, sorry, you've got to go across the street, and you've got to pick up your kids, put them in the car seat, and go across the street to get the bottle of wine to go with your pasta is wrong. I also think that the 12-ounce beer that the 99-cent only store, warm at best, is nobody's going to drink a 12-ounce beer warm unless they're just really deranged, and they're going to go anywhere and do that. you go over to CVS, you can't get a 12-ounce beer at CVS or at Rawlings, a single one. It's 20 or 24. And that's the kind of sale that we ought to be looking at if you're concerned about somebody going in and popping it in their car. But a warm 12-ounce beer is, you can't find it. I mean, a cold 12-ounce beer, you can't find it. You can get 12-ounce beers at Bevmo, but they're the craft beers, and they are also warm. So I just don't think that all of our residents here have income property, own a Carl's Jr. or a farm, and we ought to be looking at those people that can benefit from a lower cost sale of these products.
Commissioner London.
Like some of my fellow commissioners, I really wrestled with this one. I've probably lost more sleep over this one than any decision I've made since I got on this commission. Only because I've had personal experiences within my own family with alcoholism and the problems that alcohol create. So that's part of my thinking, and I think I would, before I got the information that I got tonight, I would have totally supported the director's decision to deny the application, to deny the PCN categorically. I do believe probably that 99-cent stores does fill a particular niche in the community for a particular group of people that have a difficult enough time as it is. You know, I suppose I'm also a believer that there's certain places that the government should stay out of. And whether a person chooses to drink or not in the privacy of their own home, I mean, that's their decision. My concern is they don't drink it on the street, they don't drink it behind the wheel of a car, they don't assault somebody with it, they don't create other problems. And I think that their business model in terms of 99-cent stores has done a fair amount of effort to not get into that realm. Probably more so than I've seen any other store do. Certainly Ralph's doesn't care if, you know, 3 21-year-old kids walk in at 10:30 at night and buy 3, 24 packs of, 24-ounce cans of beer and walk out of the cold cooler with it. You know where that's going. And that just really frightens me. And if this had been the situation, we were selling it cold or anything like that, I mean, it would be an absolute denial. But I think maybe in this case, I'm not so concerned about a complete denial here. I am concerned that if I were to agree to let this PCN go forward, I do have some things that I would impose as conditions. Number one is no single container sales, period. No alcohol in coolers ever, and I'd want that written in as a condition. No alcohol in coolers ever. Limit to the 12 linear feet, no more than 12 feet ever. And I would have the no trespass agreement as a condition of the approval. I'm still really concerned about minors or anybody else out there that's underage getting a hold of alcohol, and the problem I have with this one is that this store alcohol is cheap. And that's a problem. And I realize that you've taken a lot of effort to prevent that, and there's nothing you can do as a store owner to totally stop it. But I am concerned that whatever you're doing in terms of alcohol sales, I still have a responsibility to the community to not allow this to go too far. And that would be my only way of approving the PCN, is if those 4 conditions were in place. If that's not acceptable, then it's a denial from as far as I'm concerned. Thank you. But I do appreciate what you're doing. I think as a corporation, if you're going to sell alcohol, you've probably taken as good a position as I've ever seen. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I follow up on, I think there was kind of a question in there about whether the Planning Commission can condition a PCN finding, and I'm of the belief that the law would not support that, and that's because of the situation where this is not tied to a discretionary permit. And since it's not tied to a discretionary permit, the PCN is simply a finding of the public convenience or necessity, or a lack of that finding. And there's no, I don't believe the law would support a basis to attach conditions to that. And by the way, just so you know, based on your decision here today, whether it's a denial or approval, granting, I guess, finding PCN, PCRN, That then goes to, when it gets there, eventually will go to the ABC. And then the ABC will use that to either issue or not issue the permit. So that would be kind of incongruent, kind of that, chronology of what we're going to see, or incongruent also with the concept of adding conditions as well.
So I'm going to just piggyback on some comments. I've been trying to get this up on my phone. I agree with everything Commissioner Fuentes said. I think it's a great clientele. It's going to help a certain clientele that wants maybe a lesser cost type of product. I guess and that's my whole kind of philosophy on business, is to not require and give businesses more strict requirements and allow them to have freedom and liberty. I just think that since there is a concentration, and if you look on El Toro Road, I'm not sure if this is in the packet, but it was something that is a map around this proposed item. If I count them correctly, I see.
Real quickly while he's counting, for those with access to the packet, page 50 does have the same map.
Yeah, we can just go to page 50 then. Just along El Toro Road. Now I count. I see different. I think on the item that you sent us via email, there's right above the library. There's 2 on this page, but there's 3 clusters closest to right below southwest of the 3 in 320.14. I'm seeing 3 dots on the thing that you emailed us. So in any case, whether it's 10 or 11, from pretty much Muirlands and El Toro, from Muirlands down to about the 5 Rue along El Toro, there's 11 there. And I just, even though this census tract only has 5, if I'm counting that correctly, this would be the 6th, there are 11 along that corridor. So in any case, any other comments from the Commission?
Yeah, I would just come in on your comment, Mr. Chairman, that of those 11, some of those are retail outlets and some of them are areas of consumption on site, restaurants, bars, and those kind of things. But there certainly are a number of other retail sites along there that would lend support to the director's decision.
I think if I read the map right, the yellow dot is existing off sale.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. They're all off sale.
They're all off sale? Okay.
There's
I
additional
stand
on sale.
corrected.
Any other comments before a motion?
I would just like to add that in previous meetings, we've discussed about businesses all leaving the city. We have empty businesses here, we have empty businesses there, because everybody's shopping online. The 99-cent only store client, I don't think is an online shopper. I don't think our fixed income and our senior citizens and our families that are shopping for grocery stores are online shoppers. I don't think they're going to close like we're seeing throughout the city. And I just don't get why we wouldn't say we have a viable way of increasing our sales tax in the city. And with businesses closing around us, I think it'd be a huge mistake if we just looked at these residents and said, you can make the extra trip. You can go somewhere else, and I reject that. That's snobbery.
Any other comments before motion? Or we can go straight to the motion.
Okay. If it's okay. With all due respect to all of my fellow commissioners, I'm going to move that we uphold the director's decision and close the public comment on this issue.
Can I amend your motion and allow the acting city attorney, Matt Silver, to draft a resolution, and before the vote, I'm not saying we recess after the vote, if it does indeed pass, that we would take a slight recess to allow him to craft the resolution.
I'm comfortable with that amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'm certainly always happy to try to do those kind of things. However, I don't think it would be possible to prepare the resolution in such a short period of time. The resolution also needs to be in form, needs to be not just really thorough, regardless again of what decision you make, but secondly, it needs to be printed out, and I think from a kind of a logistical standpoint, there may be an issue there for staff and for myself on that. And at the same time, I hear you talking about, at least one may not be here for the next meeting. I completely understand that. I do want to clarify, however, that the resolution won't be anything new in terms of determination. Your determination is made today. The resolution will simply put that in writing. And so whoever is here, if you did decide to close the public hearing and then continue it to the next meeting or another meeting if you're choosing, as long as there are enough people here to vote, and they do vote to adopt that resolution passed, and it would simply reflect what you said here today. But as much as I wish I could, I honestly don't think that I could really do an adequate job preparing it during a recess.
If I could ask a follow-on question. I'm okay with, based on what you've said, it sounds like if we were to vote in favor of the motion I just brought, with the amendments to have it be done as a resolution and have the resolution confirmed at the next meeting, I would be comfortable not being here for that vote because, in theory, it's not substantive. My question then at that point is, if we get to that next meeting and I'm not here and can't be here and somebody else is sick and suddenly we have quorum issues, what happens to the both to that decision? In other words, does it die on the vine? But also secondarily, I have concern for what we're doing to, if it goes the way I've proposed it, then the applicant has a statutory time limit with which they have the right to then ask the City Council to appeal what we've done, and so that's not going to trigger until we actually have it in writing, and so we're just leaving them hanging on the vine, and I'm not comfortable with that either. And so I understand the tight spot you're in. Those are my concerns.
I also have a work commitment in 2 weeks, so now you're down to 3. So I'd strongly voice my opinion that I think we've got 5 here, and we know we're going to be down to 3, and that's unusual. The last time we had 3 was last summer, so I don't think it's a common thing, but it's we all have commitments, and I just think that you're not 3 in 2 weeks. So,
Mr. Chair, may I?
Sure.
Thank you. I think in terms of the question of what are we doing to the applicant in terms of timing and potentially their rights of appeal, our municipal code provides that the time for appeal runs from the date of the city's notice of decision. The resolution would serve that purpose. So effectively, those 15-day period in which they have to appeal to the City Council won't start until that resolution is adopted, whether that's at the next meeting or not, because there'll be 3 of you, it sounds like, perhaps at most. In terms of the quorum issue, if it were to be the case that there were 3 here, you would have quorum. And if 3 voted to adopt that resolution, it would pass properly. However, if at the next meeting maybe a 3rd person couldn't make it and we didn't have quorum, the item would automatically be punted to the following meeting after that. So I think the issue of keeping them on the vine, it's your call. Let me preface it all with, you're the Planning Commission. It is purely within your discretion to determine what you want the motion to look like or the protocol to look like on that. That being said, I wouldn't be too concerned about hanging on the vine, because in a denial, really the status quo will stay the same, and their time to appeal won't be affected.
If I could ask one last hypothetical. Let's say, for example, that, and this is pure conjecture because we haven't voted, but if it goes 3-2 in favor of my motion, 2 of those 3 aren't here next time, based only on comments made so far, purely conjecture and speculation. I don't know what anybody's going to actually vote, but we have 3-2 in favor. We come back in 2 weeks, and the 3 people here is 2-1 on the other side. They say, hey, I don't like this. They vote no. At that point, where are we?
Really being put to work tonight, aren't I? Boy, that's a fantastic question. That's a great question. And I think in all likelihood what would happen is the item would probably get continued, because if the number were switched and there were, I guess, the 2 who would vote to find a PCN tonight were 2, and then the 1 is now in the minority for the next one, the resolution couldn't pass. It simply would fail to pass at that point, because the 1 would vote in favor of the resolution, 2 would vote against possibly the resolution, and it simply couldn't pass. The resolution, I think, could then be taken up at the next meeting. I think in all likelihood, though, it will be continued. And again, since the resolution is simply a reflection of the findings here today, if I'm here for that next meeting, I would be encouraging the Planning Commission to vote on that resolution in a way that reflects what occurred here today. Because again, the resolution is not making new findings or a new decision. It's simply putting in writing what you found here today. Great question, though.
One other consideration, too, is that this is at least, the 3rd or 4th one we've had in the last year. And, we're all, this is a friendly comment, like hopefully all my previous ones have been. We haven't had this situation come before us before. So we've always either, denied or approved, and had that resolution ready at that meeting. So this is kind of a curveball, if you will, thrown before us because it hasn't been like the more recent history over the last year. So does anyone have any advice for us from the commission here?
We can take the safe route out, and we can actually go ahead and continue this item if I'm not mistaken, and maybe we want to look at that. And my justification in some way goes back to this item was on our agenda 2 weeks ago, or the previous commission meeting, and was requested to delay by the applicants. I don't know that there's an overwhelming sense of urgency. If we're having trouble coming to some consensus here, then my suggestion is we go ahead and continue this, not necessarily to the next meeting, but to the following meeting after that, wherein we have every reason to believe that all 5 of us will be present at that time. And that would be my suggestion.
If I'm not mistaken, just on a point of order, my motion was never seconded, so I think if that was a new motion to continue,
I'll call that to be a motion, yes.
I will second that.
And just a question to Mr. Silver. If we're continuing the item, that doesn't mean then we're going to, in the next, in essence, like 4 weeks from today or 5 weeks, depending on that. Does that mean we're going to vote to continue it at that point, too, to the next? Or are we crafting, we need to make a motion to craft a resolution, right? Not just to continue this item.
think there are two options. One of them is that. One option is to kind of spell it out, I guess, more clearly on my end. One option is if you do elect to continue this item and not render a decision now, but render a decision at the meeting to which you continue it, you could instruct us to prepare, I guess, alternative resolutions, one that provides for a finding of PCN and one that finds denial of PCN, and then you wouldn't have to continue it again after that to come back with another resolution. That's option number one. The second option would be basically to continue it again, and then you'd be probably 6 weeks out from today.
Okay, then I'd like to amend the motion to instruct staff to draft two competing resolutions, one to deny, one to approve the director's denial of PCN.
And sorry to be so talkative, I just want to make sure I've got it right. In the resolutions, am I to understand that in all the comments we've heard today from the Planning Commission, in the presentation we've heard, that you are incorporating those findings, and therefore I'm to incorporate those findings into the resolutions?
Yes, that would be my intention.
Thank you.
And I will second the amendment as well, since I seconded the original motion.
All right. Now that we have a motion, we can comment on that motion.
Well, I have a question, Matt. So if it comes back before this board in 6 weeks, whatever it is, 5-6 weeks, will we have another public hearing?
Yes.
Actually, it may be too late because we've already seconded, and I'm going to offer a friendly amendment that we roll number 6 into this as well. So if we're going to come back, we might as well do it all at once. But there are different facts in number 6 than there are in number 5, so I'm okay with either.
Yeah, we're just talking about item number 5 right now. Yeah, I want to hear item number 6 individually.
Commissioner Ludden.
I think the 6 weeks delay is kind of unnecessary. I have a feeling that whatever we decided for number 5 is not going to be much different for number 6. I think we ought to just decide on a resolution we want them to draft and continue until that time, and then approve the resolution, whichever way we decide to go. I think we're just unnecessarily dragging this thing out.
You know, I share with your comments, and kind of like I said, the curveball. However, I think the facts are different for item number 6, so I think I'm willing to go ahead and vote on the motion and second. Any other comments before we vote?
I'd agree to limit this to number 5 only, and then address number 6 as a separate public hearing. I would agree with that.
All right. Let's vote. All in favor? The S is 3-2.
I thought the argument made sense to just vote now. I seconded it, but I voted against it.
Mr. Chairman, to clarify, to what meeting is this item being continued to?
I believe it's the June 7th. Does that sound right? Or June 12th? Sorry, June 12th.
Yeah, June 12th.
Thank you.
All right, on to agenda item number 6.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Jennifer Manster has a brief staff report on this item.
This item is going to look very similar to the last one. It is the appeal of the director's denial for determination of PCN at the existing 99-cent store located in the Foothill Ranch Town Center. In September of last year, the city also received a request for determination of this store. The census tract for the 99-cent store is allowed 2 off-sale liquor licenses and currently has 7 licenses in the tract, meaning that the tract is overconcentrated. Similar to the last one, the PCN was denied by the Director of Development Services, who determined that material presented by the applicant did not include sufficient facts or information to adequately demonstrate that public convenience or necessity would be served by issuance of a license. The PCN was similarly appealed to the Planning Commission, and same as the last one, we'll look at adopting a resolution. That concludes my presentation, and if you have any questions about this one, I can answer that.
Any questions from the commission to staff?
I have one. I'm working from memory from the last time we did PCN issues, but am I remembering correctly that the ratio is 4,500 residents per liquor license? It doesn't say specifically in the report, but I know, the math that we do to come to the fact that we're allowed 3 or we're allowed 2, whatever, it's based on, number X of residents per liquor license, and I think that's 4,500.
I don't remember the specific number either.
Okay. Well, we'll test my memory then, but as best I can recall, it was based on 4,500. This particular census tract is set to boom population-wise, and so I'm curious. I don't even have my phone with me today to do a calculator, but maybe one of my fellow commissioners or a staff member could help me out, but we're anticipating approximately 9,000, if I remember right, new residents. Is that in the Baker Ranch developments anticipated? It's so somewhere north of maybe.
Baker Ranch is approximately 2,300 homes, and if you figure 2.91 persons per household here.
So approximately 9,000 to 10,000. Okay, so I'm at least reasonably accurate in my recollections. That would basically say, okay, we're currently slotted for 2. We have 7. We're going to approximately double what we're allotted under the statutory, which would put us at 4 before we reach overconcentration. We're still at 7. So I have a hard time, based on that, finding any different than I did on the first one. Everything else is basically the same, but I wanted to see how the anticipated population growth would differ. The only other observation I have is the Baker Ranch project actually has a small amount of commercial space dedicated within its approvals and on its track maps, and so while it's not specific to this particular issue, as we look forward and we plan as planning commissioners, I would anticipate that whoever ends up opening up a grocery store or a convenience store in that tract is going to be asking for a PCN, because it's still in this same census tract. We're still going to be double the saturation, even fully built. And so I would be reluctant to put us up against the moratorium numbers for total city, which I don't think a PCN gets us around. I could be wrong. Right now, and that goes back to what I said on the last one about how certain tracts may have a lot more than others because of the way the population falls and the way the zoning falls. And while that is true, there's still, if I'm not mistaken, in my understanding, there's a hard cap as well that the PCN process does not get around. It gets around the individual tract over saturation, but if we hit our hard ceiling as to total number of licenses allowed within the city, it doesn't matter if you're in a tract that has none and was allowed 5, it's still not allowed. If I'm going to defer to the city attorney on that, see if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes.
Okay.
I think you are. We have not reached our moratorium limits, however. We're still...
Right, and that I understand. I mean, I think we still have 10 or 12. We have some wiggle room. I'm just concerned that as we continue to build out and repurpose some of the older neighborhoods going forward, I don't want to necessarily limit our flexibility as planners to the benefit of an area that's already currently 3, and even after fully built appears to be approximately 2 times the saturation levels. My concerns for the negative impact on 99 cent only stores are the same. This is an issue that drives me batty because I don't like to tell businesses they can't do things. I just think it's the right thing to do here.
Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Fuentes. All right. Sorry. False alarm on my part. All right. I'd like to open the public hearing. Same comments as last time. Public hearing. Public has a right to voice their opinion, ask questions. We appreciate your questions and comments, and to ensure the protocols and procedures, if you will address any comments or questions at the end. So it looks like we have a speaker. And does the applicant want to come up? Sure. If you can again state your name and city of address.
Surely. Steve Rawlings, Marietta, California. Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak. I will not repeat the presentation about who we are, but I did want to engage a little bit of a yeah. We've been at it for 2 hours and 15 minutes, so I do want to kind of address a couple of things here, and I'd like to emphasize a couple of things here. The word overconcentration sometimes has a connotation to it that I think that the public don't understand. Overconcentration, we divide the state up in census tracts. I think we all understand that. The census tracts are zoning blind. They have no idea whether or not they drew a line in a commercially saturated area or into a heavily residentially area. I live in a census tract. I do this for a living, so I follow a lot of stuff. I live in a census tract that we use the word allowed, and it just means allowed without getting a PCN. It doesn't mean you can't exceed that number. But the ABC has a policy that they defer whenever you go above this allowed number. They have a policy of deferring it to local governments for them to take a little closer look and examination as to whether or not it's appropriate for their community. I live on the west side of Marietta, probably the most desirable part of Marietta to live in. We're encompassed with 2 census tracts. One census tract is allowed 3 without getting a finding of PCN, and the other one is allowed 3 without getting a PCN. One of our census tracts has 17 active licenses. The other has 0. 0, because it's all residential. There is no commercially zoned land, so you wouldn't allow me to build a 99 cent only store in that census tract because of our zoning laws were not there. But in very good planning practices, we all go through a general plan, we go through a zoning code, and we all have the tendency to go right down these particular streets here that are thoroughfares, and we put industrial buildings all together in the same industrial area, and we put commercial centers in the same area there. So oftentimes we come up and we hear folks from the community say, "Oh my goodness gracious, you're twice what's allowed." It's like, well, again, the allowed is a guideline that just says once you exceed that number, you need to defer to the local community to take a little closer look. And most communities realize that they're going to have census tracts that are over-concentrated because guess what? That's where they've told 99 cents that they have to locate. They've told Walmart you have to locate in that census tract. You have to Target you have to locate in there. Chili's restaurant you have to locate in there. Every gas station has to locate in there. So it's the local folks that have told all the commercial businesses you have to go in there. So at the end of the day, it's the local zoning and the local general plan that has, by default, made your census tracts overconcentrated. I'll be honest with you, most census tracts that encompass most commercial properties in most communities are overconcentrated. Probably 70% of the off-sale applications that I do are in overconcentrated census tracts. It's a very common thing. It's a formula. I could offer a better formula, but it's a lot of state bureaucracy to get it changed, and it doesn't. I usually encourage cities and kind of take a look at their entire community and look at all their census tracts and try to strike a balance there. And again, ABC is not saying that, hey, a good model community should only have 3 alcohol licenses in that particular census tract. That's not at all what they're saying. That is for local folks to make their own determination as to how much is too much, how little is too little. And I look at, especially the one up on Foothill, and I look at the dispersion and where all the population are, and I would submit to you that I've worked in dozens and dozens of communities, and I don't think there would be anybody that would ever drive through Lake Forest and say, boy, you guys got a liquor store in every corner. Not even down there. I can take you to communities that have liquor stores on every corner, but they're not there. And there's a couple other things I'd like to kind of point out there. One gentleman mentioned about 200 DUIs. The county of Orange is actually the only county that I know of that actually did a comprehensive survey back in 2009, and I would submit to you that the statistical data is probably pretty much the same, where they actually, and it was through the Department of Health, and they actually conducted a real legitimate survey of drunk drivers, when they got arrested. And they basically asked them the question of saying, where did you guys get drunk at? I mean, there was the real question they wanted to know. The overwhelming majority, like not even close, like 80% got drunk at a bar or a restaurant. But there is no PCN process, by the way, for a bar or restaurant. I want to open up a restaurant and sell alcohol. We're not here tonight, and I can do that, and that's true in every community. But yet we hear comments from people worried about drunk drivers, and the statistics by your own county health department that I share with other communities say overwhelmingly it happens at bars and restaurants. The percentage of people that say that they got drunk at home and got in the car is like 2%. And yet we spend a lot of time getting worried about the number of dispensing points for off-sale. And yet communities don't really look at where the real problem is when you want to talk about drunk driving. It's at restaurants and bars. And your law enforcement guys will probably tell you that. And where did the fights occur? Not in the parking lot of Walmart. They happen outside the bars. Where do the girls get in trouble? Bars. Not outside, We close our store at 10 o'clock at night. I've raised 4 sons. I tell them, nothing good happens after midnight, guys. So get home, and that's because the bars. And yet we spend a lot of time worrying about public safety on the number of dispensing points. One last point I'll make about dispensing points, census tracts, crime. A lot of people tie public problems to number of dispensing points. Like we're here tonight. How many is too many? And they, worry about public safety and public intoxication and underselling of minors and so on and so forth, and they make some nexus between number of dispensing points and some type of crime or some societal problem that we have. Well, if truly a nexus, then my buddy that's a cop in Hill County, Texas, which happens to be a dry county, he should never pick up a drunk driver, should he? He should never have to deal with public intoxication, right? I mean, it's a dry county. They have 0 dispensing points. 0. I've been there. 0. 45 minutes to the closest place that you can buy a beer and bring it back. And yet we're, as a society, we get really, worked up because 99 Cents wants to sell 12 lineal feet of wine And I hear people in the community get really upset, like, oh my goodness, we're really jeopardizing public health, but yet, boy, if I was Chili's or any other bar or restaurant, I open up, and guess what? That's 80% of your drunk drivers there. And that the percentage of people that are coming to a 99-cent only store and buying a bottle of wine to take it home to consume with their pasta is what gets under all the scrutiny. So I'm speaking candidly tonight. Those are the facts. We all know those as citizens. The problems are caused by the bars, and yet, I'm getting crushed here because I just want to sell a little bit of beer and wine, and there's nothing wrong with somebody buying a bottle of wine and going home and eating it with their pasta, and you're not doing any detriment to your community. You are helping out a business that would like to stay competitive and continue to provide a service, and that denying us the right that you gave to Rawls, and are we sending a message out that, hey, every grocery store, look out, you come to Lake Forest, you're not going to get a beer and wine? I mean, I can't give a better presentation. Honest to goodness, I can't think of it. I work in this industry full time, and I can't give you any better reasons than I gave you here tonight. And so I would be shocked if Ralph's or Trader Joe's shows up here and you guys give them one. Because there's no better presentation that you're going to see as to reasons why we should be allowed to sell a small amount of beer and wine. So anyway, with that, thank you very much. I do appreciate your time and your attention to our concerns, and we would certainly like to be able to sell a little bit of beer and wine. We think we're very, very responsible. We certainly don't think we're a detriment at all in there, and it's very, very difficult to hear a denial of that based on the reasons like we're going to be harming the community, and I don't understand that in any way, shape, or form. And I do concur with some other people's comments here that it's a free enterprise. And regulation and not allowing me to sell a small little amount that that the other guys are all getting a chance to do there without any serious concerns from your law enforcement and no other true statistics that show that we're going to cause any kind of harm to the community. I don't understand it. I mean, with all due respect, I served on a planning commission for 6 years. I was the vice chairman for 5 of those years. I understand the positions that you're in, but I'll be honest, I do not follow the logic in why we would not be allowed to do that. And I'll be a very curious observer in years to come when other retailers ask for the same thing. So anyway, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments.
It looks like Victor Shear left. Next up is Jim Gardner.
We know who you are and where you're from, but if you can just restate them.
Good evening. My name is Jim Gardner. I live in Lake Forest. A couple of comments. One, 99-cent store doesn't intend to sell a small amount of beer and wine. They want to sell as much beer and wine as they possibly can. That's why they make millions and tens of millions of dollars, because they sell as much as they can. That's why they sell it cheaply. They want to flood the place, quite frankly. Other retailers, he's right. I'd be shocked if you were giving out and you were approving more and more beer and wine licenses in areas that are oversaturated. In fact, this commission has not been doing that. Historically, we did get to these numbers, but in the last 2 years, it seems to me very few, if any, maybe one, has actually gone through here. And I believe that was turned down at the City Council. So in fact, it has been the recent policy, because we are oversaturated. And oversaturation exists for a reason. Somewhere, somebody looked at it and said, we don't want that much more, because there are people who get drunk that way. Mrs. Fuentes doesn't think teenage boys will chug-a-lug a 12-ounce warm beer. She's never been around a bunch of teenage boys. They'll chug-a-lug Coca-Cola with an aspirin. I mean, the boys will do that. She thinks that shopping at night, there's females with their 4 kids. Well, quite frankly, I don't go shopping at night at the 99-cent store. I do go there in the daytime. Mostly it's single women. If I was a bachelor, I'd be going there. It's a lot of single women. There aren't women pulling kids around. She's worried about businesses closing. Apparently not. Apparently the 99-cent store's making a lot of money. God bless them. Like I say, I like them. My wife likes them. Many people like them. My retarded clients like them. In fact, 99-cent store is expanding, so they're doing well. We don't have to worry about them going out of business. In this case, the thing that's different about number 6 is this area is even more oversaturated than the other area. Not only is the area oversaturated, if you look at your maps, you'll see there's a lot of places right around that area. So whatever you decided on number 5, you need to decide on number 2 as well. If Lake Forest and New Orleans isn't oversaturated, I'd be tickled pink for them to sell beer and wine. I'm sure my wife, who's the beer and wine drinker, would drink lots of stuff. I have no idea. If it isn't oversaturated, they have every right, and I would encourage them to come here and apply for that. They might not even have to, because the director would approve it anyway. The point is, there's a regulation, there's oversaturated, they're exceeding it if we add them on, and I believe we've shown that there is no convenience and no necessity. So, as business friendly as you want to be, your main concern is health and welfare of the city. So I urge you to deny this one as well. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Last chance. One other person in the audience. No pressure. All right, so is there anyone else? We'll bring it back to the commission for additional questions to staff. All right, I'll just make a quick one. Is there any, to the applicant and staff, is there any, beside the items that we've talked about, it being in another area, I don't think there's any other changes or revisions that this store would have either different times or different product offerings or and I actually had one more question to staff. I was curious, did the census tracts change in size and location every 10 years?
Census tracts are based on a population. They're generally between, between 1,200 and 8,000 residents. It's very likely that we'll get a census tract split when the Baker Ranch property develops. That would be in 2020.
But would other boundaries change?
It's possible. That since we're going to see most of our growth there, that's the most likely place we'll see a split. We don't see a lot of growth happening in other places, and I don't believe we're at the top of any range for census tracts. We haven't seen a split in the past couple of censuses.
So generally, they stay the same unless the population.
Yes, census tracts are based on population, which is
right.
Like staff has said in the past, and like the applicant noted, that you'll see some census tracts with no alcohol licenses because they're all residential, and other census tracts have commercial and residential mixed.
But the location, it wouldn't change the shape, even though the population may stay the same. In general, even the shape stays the same every 10 years, is what you're saying?
They're fairly consistent every 10 years, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, staff? Commissioner Fuentes.
Is there a business that would come to the city of Lake Forest that staff might consider approving a PCN?
Well, as the attorney mentioned earlier, the findings for public convenience or necessity are very subjective and really made on a case-by-case basis. We look at things like the unique offerings of the business, as Chair Hamilton has been asking, and unique factors.
When was the last time one was approved?
Well, the gas station in Foothill Ranch, the car wash and gas station, that one was, Jennifer, help me, it was eventually approved by the city council. I'm not positive what the director and the planning commission how they acted, but it was eventually.
The Planning Commission denied it, and it was overturned by the City Council.
Yeah, if I remember right, the director asked us to rule on that from the beginning. She deferred to us.
Right, correct.
And that was when?
2013.
2013. And prior to that?
I have a list.
I think I could pitch in. I had 3 or 4 since I've been on. It's been about a year and 4 months.
That have passed?
And every one coming to us has unanimously been denied. So before that, staff may have additional.
Yeah, in my year and a half tenure, I think it's been 3 that have come to us. It was unanimous denial on all 3, and 1 was overturned by the City Council after.
So my question was not denials. My question was when was...
The last approval was in 2012, and it was the Pars Persian Market down on Lake Center, on Mercury Road, toward the freeway, and that was in 2012.
In 2012, a Persian market?
Yeah, Pars Persian Market is down there.
Okay.
Was the last one. Previous to that, it was in 2011.
I just wonder if Mr. Rawlings was representing Trader Joe's, if this board or this city would be more receptive to offering a Trader Joe's to our citizens. I have a lot of friends that say, oh, we need a Trader Joe's, we need a Trader Joe's. Well, if I'm Mr. Trader Joe's, I'm not coming to Lake Forest because all we do is appear to deny. And it appears that we have 11 more. Do we have other spots in the city that those 11, until we reach our saturation point? Is there all these pockets of new commercial that are coming up that might be looking at taking 1 or 2 of those?
We have currently 2 census tracts that have commercial in them that would be allowed to have an additional ABC license. The rest of the tracts that are not saturated do not have any commercial. And it's Sycamore Plaza and the center on Geronimo and El Toro Road with the cosmetics. Both of those, because they are the only commercial centers in their census tracts.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we'll bring it back to the commission for comments. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I have comments.
Oh, sorry. Go back to comments.
We'll go back to comments if we can. I'm not struggling with this one like I was with number 5. I actually see that with Baker Ranch being built out, there is going to be this track realignment. We're not going to, some of us may or some of us may not be around when that happens, but the point is as Baker Ranch is built out, and quite frankly, I don't think the business at 99 cent stores would change whether they sell or they don't sell beer and alcohol. They have a specific target market, and they're doing it very well, and that's why they're growing. As the applicants already been presented to us, they have changed their public perception, and that public perception is one that is allowing them to grow. So I don't think whether they sell beer and alcohol, they're going to change that. And with regard to Foothill Ranch location, because of the growth that's going to be taking place in that area, I don't have an opposition to this, and I might be more inclined to think that maybe the director's denial of this may not have taken into consideration to the degree that it needs to be taken into. That's my comment.
Any other comments?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Of Sergeant, Captain Valentine.
And by the way, thank you for
Lieutenant.
sticking around so
Yeah.
so long.
So I note in our report that you state that it would not be changing the characteristic of the neighborhood. Did you say that in both instances?
I don't recall saying that. Maybe that's loud. What we looked at, we were asked to look at the calls for service at particular addresses. So up in the Foothill Ranch area, we had the Target on Portola, the Rouse on Portola, and the 99-cent store on Town Center. So of those, there were, in a one-year period is what we measured, there were 44 calls for service at those 3 locations. And of those 44 calls, 3 were alcohol-related.
No DUIs?
We weren't asked to track the DUIs. DUIs happen all over the city. To start tracking, DUIs don't happen at the 99-cent store. They don't happen at the Target. They happen at cross streets and different places where vehicles are stopped. So I don't have that type of information to try to track all that for you. Mr. Gardner's statistics of approximately 200 DUI arrests last year are accurate. Whether they happen at these specific locations, that I don't have that information, and I would say they don't happen at those locations.
So you're comfortable with adding the sale of beer and wine with relationship to it shouldn't increase your calls in this particular area?
I have no opinion as to whether it should be approved or denied.
That's very smart of you.
I'm just simply providing the facts of the calls for service we've answered in the last year.
Thank you. I didn't want you to be here all night without saying anything.
Thank you.
I have actually a follow-up question. In the staff report, it says they are alcohol violations. Do you have a better definition of what alcohol violations are? Are they the sale of alcohol? Are they public consumption? All of those?
Those can be anything from drunk in public to theft of alcohol, or like what you would call a beer run, where somebody runs in and grabs it and runs out. It could be minors in possession of alcohol. Once again, I don't have all those statistics. The one I have for the 3 alcohol violations were at the Rouse. Let me get the Portola here. Excuse me a second. Those 3 up in Foothill Ranch are all theft of alcohol in that 1-year time frame. Now, once again, that's for that particular address. So if you take the cross streets, there might be more alcohol-related incidents down the street, but we were only asked to provide that information for those addresses. Alcohol can contribute to many types of mischief and crime within the city, but it's hard to gauge if one particular location is going to add to that.
Thank you. The staff report says the Rouse had a total of 4 calls for service, of which 2 of the calls related to alcohol, and the Target had none related to alcohol. Was your third? I'm just curious. There's a little discrepancy there. It may be.
It's going to be my error.
Okay.
My grid, my information is not as organized as yours. I don't have the staff report.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? Commissioner Ludden.
I appreciate Commissioner Van Plank's comments about Foothill Ranch and the expansion of the population. However, I'm not sure that I would approve this one just based on the potential for future expansion. We don't know what other type of facility might choose to locate up there because of that, and right now I can't see anything that would cause me not to continue to support the director's denial, because there's nothing really that's changed in spite of the information that we have. And if it's not going to change at the other facility, it's not going to change at this one, it's probably not going to change at the one in Lake Forest. So, I mean, I don't, to me, as far as I'm concerned, the director's denial needs to stand.
Commissioner Plain.
Yeah, I appreciate all the comments, and I especially appreciate Commissioner Fuentes' comments with regard to possibly the city becoming identified with a denial process for PCNs. And I would advocate tremendously. I would stand on my head if Trader Joe's wanted to put a store in our community. And if they were resistant to doing so because they thought that this commission, the city council, were not open to the idea of allowing one of their key features, which is a class, as far as I know, they only use a type 20 license, that would really bother me. That if that kind of a business would not come to our city. So, and I know this is kind of a shift for me because I've looked at the census tracts before and I thought, okay, we've got an over-concentration, but the more I look at this and the more I think about it, the more I'm inclined, maybe we've taken the wrong approach. And I'm really thinking, and I'm thinking out loud, we need to be careful what we do. We need to not put ourselves in a box that says to businesses, you are non-business friendly on one particular item. And I just think we need to be guarded against that, that's all.
You know, I'll chime in. Like I said earlier, I think this is tough. I'm a pro-freedom, pro-liberty. I think this is these are tough decisions. You know, the development director, you know, made a decision, and I'm just kind of more inclined to follow that. But fortunately, we're continuing this for a month, but give us a little bit more time to think about it. But the applicant, your frustration, you know, I definitely identify with, you know, your experience. So, you know, 17 in one census tract. I think at the same time that you know, I'm not sure if I have more evidence based on location, you know, additional offerings, hours. In any case, I think I think your comments on the bars, I think, were very educated. I appreciated all the items you expressed. So, with that, any other comments?
Well, I think it would be a convenience for a shopper to go to a 99-cent only store and buy pasta, sauce, some lettuce, and a bottle of wine. And I don't know how that doesn't constitute in our minds as a convenience. We have, in that particular area, there's on that side of the quadrant, if you will, there's Walmart. And if you want to get a bottle of wine, I think you have to go across the street to Ralph's. Am I correct on that? I think so.
Walmart has an alcohol.
I know Walmart does,
Okay.
but have you gone to Walmart lately? I mean, it takes you about 15 minutes to find a parking spot, right? And then you've got to dodge through all the parking, the carts, and then you get into the store, and then it takes another 23 minutes to go find somebody to ask them where their wine is, and then maybe you might, you know, an hour and 72 minutes later, would be hour, you're out the store because the lines are long. So I don't think of Walmart as a convenience, especially if I went and I got my very competitive priced pasta, sauce, and a head of lettuce, I don't think of Walmart as a convenience to get my bottle of wine. And this store is, you know, they explain to us, it's on a small scale. You walk in, you boom, 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 you're out in 15 to 20 minutes. That's convenience. I don't know how we're not proving convenience unless I have the wrong definition of the word convenient. Now, do they, maybe the fact that they close at 10 is convenient because then we don't have kids going there at 11 or 12 or after 12 o'clock at night. Maybe that's convenient. Maybe the fact that their wines, which the gal at the Foothill Ranch store said to me, they come in really pretty bottles. Maybe that's convenient, that you can not only just buy a bottle of wine, but you can put a balloon on it and it's a centerpiece. You know, to me, it's convenient. And it's, again, I think we're going to have the same kind of fixed income and lower income that will be visiting the Foothill Ranch store as well. And I would support this. I would not support the denial, and hope that we can at least give our new residents of Baker Ranch a convenience store as they move in and not wait another 5, 10, whatever years before there's a development where somebody may want to come, because maybe once in a while we'll pass a Type 20 license. Maybe.
Keep talking. You keep bringing the best out of this. I'm a pro-business person, just like most of the people in here are, and I think what we've done in the past is maybe we've been narrow-minded and narrow-sighted in taking a look at only the dots. And in going only by the dots, maybe we've made some decisions that weren't in the best interest, because who are we to tell any business owner? But on the other side of that, who are we to tell any consumer too? People have their own free will to buy or not to buy, to consume or not to consume. And if we live in a free society, no government agency, including us, should make any directions, make decisions for them. Right? You know, we don't have a perfect society. We're not perfect people. But the more that I'm thinking about this, the more I'm inclined to say, this business owner, these members of this community are entitled to make their own decisions. If the store sells alcohol and they sell a little or they sell a lot, that's their business. It's not my business. If I go into that store and I shop and I want to buy a bottle of wine to go with whatever, and it's available, I'm going to buy it. I would rather have that opportunity than have to go to a store around the corner or across the street or down the street and make a second or third stop. So if they're competitive, they're providing a service, and Commissioner Fuentes, I think you just hit it right on the head. I think there is a convenience factor here. And our role is to determine, is there a convenience factor? Is there a necessity? I don't believe there's a necessity at all. And I don't think the applicant has come to us and said there's a necessity. I think it's very clear. He's come and said there's a convenience factor. And the more I look at this, the more I'm believing that there is a convenience factor.
I look at it this way. I believe that the applicant's comments about that most of the problems come from the bars and the restaurants in this area is absolutely correct. My experience in the restaurant business kind of confirms that, based on what I saw in restaurants late at night. I believe that we have a responsibility to make sure that the people that sell alcohol in this town do it responsibly. I believe that the applicant has at least demonstrated to me that his store and their corporate culture have that commitment. And I guess as I sit here and I think about it too, because I thought about it before, that if, and I think this needs to be done on a case-by-case basis, I think we probably do need to look at the applicant and say, are they willing to be responsible and do what they say they're going to do in terms of how they sell alcoholic beverages? problem I have is that if I approve it and then they go away and do something different, I have no recourse. The city has no recourse. If they lie to us, and well, and then 2 days later they go to 24 hours a day and they install beer coolers and they do all this other stuff, and we have no way to condition for that, then we sort of take the risk. I do agree that it's a real damper on people like Trader Joe's and some of these other, larger corporate stores to come in here if they think that every liquor license that comes up before this commission is going to get denied. But if somebody comes to me and Mini Mart, I might decide to deny that. I think, to me, it should be done on a case-by-case basis, and we probably should decide kind of amongst ourselves that if it's a reliable, reasonable, corporate-based kind of operation that does have, serious corporate controls and they manage their operation, then I have no problem approving it. If it's somebody who comes in here and is not willing to demonstrate to me or to our director that they're willing to, sell it responsibly, then they get a denial. And I think in that sense it probably does come back to judgment as to who's reliable and who isn't. It would appear from what we can see that 99-cent stores is pretty much done what they say they're doing in terms of maintaining how they sell alcoholic beverages, and I may have to reverse my position on number 5 too, because I think whatever we do for number 5 we have to do for number 6, and we're going to have to do for number 7 in Lake Forest when it opens in order to be consistent. Right? The worst thing we can do is to be inconsistent with outlets of that have the same corporate owner. I think that would really look crazy. That would probably really drive people out of this town. So, well, to Commissioner Fuentes' comment, I think there is something to be said for that. So I think in thinking about it, since there's no way we can require a conditional use permit which force some of the things that I talked about earlier, we sort of have to trust them. I guess the question from myself and my fellow commissioners is, how well do we trust 99-cent stores? At the end of the day, that's what the question comes down to. Do we trust them or do we not?
I have a question, and our attorney can answer this, because you bring up a point, Commissioner Ludden. Is there any recourse after the fact between the city and the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board in the state of Sacramento?
Yes. There is a state law. I always feel like I'm either too far or too close. Sorry if the volume is changing, but there is a state law that does regulate our enforcement ability as to alcohol establishments. It's kind of a wide variety of adjectives and verbs that go into that statute in terms of what kind of things or problems that we can regulate. Typically, a city, when there is some sort of discretionary permit involved, would revoke it or modify it, and that would be the quickest recourse. Since that's not an option here, looking to violations of the municipal code, violations of the penal code, which the Sheriff's Department and DA would handle, and then these other state laws would be your recourse.
Okay, so as long as we have accurate records being taken by Lieutenant Bell and his officers, then we do have a readily available recourse that should there be a problem with any establishment within our city. Is that correct?
I mean, the law specifies what type of problems we have recourse for.
Understood.
So it would depend on that, but there is recourse out there depending on the type of violation.
Yeah, but if it's a repeat violation where it's endangering the public safety, then obviously that's going to be one of those things that we should have recourse on. Yes. And that's just a matter of working with our law enforcement and the city. So hopefully that answers the question that was brought up here. And I do agree that whatever we're going to do for 6, we need to do with 5. And since we've already done something with 5, we've kind of, by my great wisdom, put ourselves in a box to do to 6 so that we can move this down the calendar and, if necessary, resolve it. I mean, thoughts?
I would agree that having already opted to continue number 5, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to not continue number 6. I think there are some different set of facts as to whether or not we should support or reverse the decision made by the director, but there aren't any different facts as to whether or not we can approve tonight than there were on 5. And so for that reason, I think it does make sense to continue. On a purely selfish reason, I don't want to continue at this point because it's just that many more nights that I'm going to be torn up on this one. This one bothers me. I'll leave it at that.
Well, first, are there any other commissioner comments? All right. Yes, do I have a motion?
Well, I would like to make a motion to reverse the decision made by planning director tonight.
And that is based on specific reasons that's been presented here tonight, is that correct?
Well, if you need specifics, it would be because I believe that there is a convenience that the 99-cent store only offers to current residents of Lake Forest and our new residents of Lake Forest.
I'll second your motion.
So, just a question to Mr. We started out this process on item number 5. Your advice was to whether we were going to uphold the planning director's decision or to reverse the denial. You wanted, in either situation, to continue the item and have a resolution that you would draft based on the facts from the meeting tonight. Is that a correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's continue the item after making your decision was my recommendation. So you would make your decision pursuant to my suggestion, and then continue the item for purposes of considering the resolution at a different hearing.
And if I'm actually kind of getting a little, I can't remember. What was our resolution for the motion that we had for motion number 5? But did we say that we were going to approve or deny?
No.
Or did we just say we were going to continue?
No. We're going to draft 2 resolutions.
Draft 2 resolutions.
And
okay.
On the 12th, we will vote on which one to adopt.
Well, we have a motion, we have a second, and my humble opinion would be to to offer a counter motion and to have the same motion that we did for item number 5. So
I would like to suggest
wait,
that
before you
I get a second, so I'm going to
no. I'm going to leave a little bit more time for a second, and if it doesn't get seconded, then we'll vote on.
You might like what I'm going to say.
Okay.
That we're allowed to vote on the standing motion, and that when it comes time to this continuance for a resolution, that I would offer that we continue it to the June 12th day as well, with then just the one resolution depending on the vote. Does that help you?
So let me just see if I can summarize. what you just said. You want to amend your...
No, I'm not amending my motion because we're supposed to vote yay or nay, and then we're going to say, according to Matt Silver, then we're going to say, okay, now we're going to continue it because they need to go back and do a resolution. But the vote is only supposed to be on yay or nay.
I believe the recommendation was that the motion include that the course to be taken after.
A draft resolution.
Right now, we have a standing motion that does need to be voted on, and that motion was to reverse the Community Development Director's denial of fine PCN, and then as a corollary to that, we would probably make sense to come back to that next hearing where we're going to have number 5 anyway with an approval resolution to be considered. So the decision, the motion, to sum it up, is reverse fine PCN, direct me to come back with a resolution at the second Planning Commission meeting.
So it's not, it shouldn't be a part of my motion.
It is. I think it's a necessary part of the motion.
So you need to add to my motion that this resolution be drafted and come back on June 12th. Okay, pardon me, I thought it was just the vote, and then we would discuss this resolution issue.
I mean, again, it's purely your guys' call on this, the commission's call. I understood your motion. I understood your motion personally to be approve and direct me to come back in 2 meetings with the resolution reflecting what happens at the motion.
That's exactly what I said.
All right, so you made a motion. Did you want to clarify your second?
What needs to be clarified?
That's indeed what you did.
I indeed made a second to Commissioner Fuentes' motion to overturn the director's decision. I did second that, yes.
So that leaves us a vote, and just for clarification, a yes vote would be to overturn the planning director's decision, and a no vote would be to deny that resolution, or deny that motion.
Let's be clear, this is only for the Foothill Ranch PCN?
Yeah, and obviously we can't go back and change number 5. So, correct. So, one more question. If someone were to make a mistake voting, we can ask for a second, we can reset. Is that right?
Is there some rule on how late meetings can run here? I don't know. I'm kidding. No, I think you could bring something back for reconsideration.
No, I'm just saying if someone else were to have to do that in this time. Okay, so we have a motion.
I would argue we bring number 5 back for reconsideration, put them both in the same bucket, fix it all at one time, and stop dragging this out. This is just getting ridiculous.
While I agree, I don't think we can do that at the moment. Under Robert's Rules, parliamentary procedure, we'd have to finish this, and then we could have somebody...
Right, no, I'm saying we'll finish the Foothill Ranch one, and then go back and reconsider that one, and get it over with. Okay, let's call this vote and be done with it.
It's been brought to my attention that apparently there was maybe just an error in voting. Maybe you can explain it perhaps better.
Yes is reverse.
Yes is reverse.
Yes.
Fine, public convenience or necessity. And then direct me to basically close the public hearing, continue the item after your decision for 2 meetings, direct me to come back with an approval resolution for you to consider at that hearing.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, the resolution passes 3-2.
Okay, now that that's done, if I could briefly address Commissioner Ludden's question, I think, and the city attorney can tell me if I'm right, but...
May we take a restroom break?
Yeah. I was going to end with that.
We'll recess for 5 minutes. All right, we'll come back to order. We're on, right, Peggy? Yeah, okay. So, just as a parliamentary procedure, Attorney Silver, I think you, Matt Silver, had an idea that we could potentially go back to number 5. Could you just give a quick synopsis of how we could do that?
I'd be happy to. The prevailing side on the last motion on number 5, which was to continue the entire item, would make a motion for reconsideration. The Planning Commission would vote on that motion for reconsideration. If it passes by a majority vote, 3 of 5, then you go back to number 5. Since the public comment portion of number 5 was not closed, the whole item was just continued wholesale, I would suggest that the chair ask the public if they wish to provide any additional comment, and then just proceed as you normally would, close public comment, and then get into your discussions. So in essence, you would have 2 motions. You'd have the one for reconsideration. If that passes, we get to the next phase, which is revisiting number 5, and then you'd have a motion on number 5.
Okay, so of the majority, 3, I think that was myself, Commissioner Verplank, and Commissioner Ludden. One of the 3 of us would need to, am I right that those were the 3? One of those 3 would need to make a motion.
Well, since I started this, I'll go ahead and try to finish. I'll make a motion that we bring back item number 5 for reconsideration.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is second. All in favor? All right. Resolution passes, or the motion passes 4-1. So we will solicit public comments as the public hearing is not closed. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this item? Peggy, we don't have any forms, so seeing none, we'll bring it back to the commission. Any other comments? Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we reverse the findings, and I'll just leave it at that we reverse the director's findings.
And bring it back.
And
Continue it for the resolution.
right, and direct staff to go ahead and draft a resolution as such to be brought back at the June 12th meeting.
And continue the item and close the public hearing.
Continuing that item, now directing staff, we need to continue that? No, just
You're voting on the item, closing the hearing, and directing staff. Let me rephrase that. 10:20 and that I'm breaking down. You're voting, closing the public hearing, and then continuing the item post-vote for purposes of considering the resolution that I will be drafting to reflect your vote at the June 12th meeting.
Okay. That we vote to reverse director's decision, that we go ahead and close the public hearing, and then that we continue and directing staff to draft a resolution to be continued to the June 12th meeting. Did we have that right? All right.
The same resolution as item number 6.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay, we had a motion, a second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Oh, wait, can we have a discussion?
We can have a discussion.
I just have a question. Do we not need to be very specific on the reasons, the convenience or the necessity on this?
We should, and in the first time we visited number 5, the direction was for me to incorporate all of the presentation and your discussions into that resolution. I presume that's the same direction this time around?
Okay, so you're good with it?
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuentes. Any other comments? All right. Let's vote. All in favor? Resolution passes 3-2. So it sounds like staff is recommending continuation of item number 7?
Does staff need to recommend it, or do we do?
Does anyone...
I recommend we continue item number 7 to the next available meeting, whether it's next meeting or the meeting there, whatever staff's calendar would allow.
And I'll assume that that was a motion, and I'll second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye. We need one more.
We need to vote. Do we need to reset?
All right. So that gets us to director comments.
Just thank you to Attorney Silver for being here this evening, and for Lieutenant Valentine for attending his first Planning Commission meeting. We just wanted to make sure we'd be able to answer any questions that you would have on this item, so thank you very much. As one of the speakers said earlier, the city's Public Works Department is sponsoring some traffic forums. The next one will be Wednesday night, I believe it's 7 o'clock here at City Hall, and the following week it is at Lake Forest Sun and Sail Club. The presentation is the same. We're soliciting input from residents and anyone else who cares to attend them, hoping for a better attendance from the public. We've done a lot of publicizing of the workshops, but people are busy, and we'd love to have you in attendance if it fits with your schedules.
Was that 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
7 o'clock for the next two.
Okay, thank you.
And I can't remember if you emailed us, but that might be a good way to communicate to us. Have you emailed us the feedback?
No, we didn't. It was in the we did Public Works notified. We used the city's website, the register, the e-news blast, other things, but we can make every effort to notify you of other meetings.
Can we? How do we sign up for the e-news blast?
I'll get that information for you. That would be the best way. Then you'll be getting notifications, from Parks and Recreation, from everyone. I don't want to... More emails. But yes, get on the city's e-news blast, and you'll always be notified of everything we have going on.
Great. City Attorney comments?
No comments.
So it comes back to us one last time.
Okay. I just one last crack at, for whatever it's worth, to Gail, to the, our director, I don't believe in reversing your decision tonight, that it should be seen in any way as a slight to you or the job you're doing. And also, had we upheld it, I don't necessarily think it should be seen as any praise. And I mean, I give you all the praise in the world. Otherwise, I just mean that this particular issue for me should never have been in your hands in the first place. I don't think it's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to the applicants. I don't think it's right that we do it the way we do it. And I will stop there.
So, coming down the line, is that it? Sure. Okay. On Saturday, this past Saturday, I looked for all your smiling faces at El Toro High School for the Marine adoption ceremony, and my eyesight wasn't very good because I didn't see you. So I wanted to say that, you know what, that's a great cause, and there were so many competing items going in around in the community that day. It was kind of an unfortunate situation that not more people were there, but the Marines were absolutely fantastic. They were there. They are in love with our city, and there's so much more that's going to come from that. Jim Rosenberg managed to con me to get on the committee with him, which he didn't con me. I just, we talked, and I said, yeah, I'll jump in there. Really a good cause, and if you're interested, on the 28th of this month at Camp Pendleton, they have a Junior Olympics thing going to go on, and if you want more information, contact me, and I'll tell you about it. Staff, I would like to know, do we have kind of a date that we're going to be able to have that recognition resolution for Jerry Zachmeister?
We had asked previously if Jerry would like to come to the Planning Commission or City Council, and I believe he was recognized by the City Council.
Oh, was he?
So,
Okay.
yeah, he got his plaque and everything.
Good.
So,
Okay.
I think he feels the love.
I'm sure that he feels good about that. Okay, fine. I just, you know what, just came up in my mind. Okay, thanks. Just want to wish you ladies happy Mother's Day.
If I could just add real quick, feedback that I received from several neighbors that were at the Marine Corps adoption ceremony was the same as what we just heard. It was a phenomenal event. It was very well done, and that they were proud to be taking part in it. I wanted to take part in it. I was camping with Cub Scouts. So, unfortunately, somebody's got to keep those guys out of the fires.
I'd like to concur with Jerry about the Marine Corps adoption. That was a really spectacular presentation. I thought it was very well done. I thought I was really happy to see a lot of members of the community had come out to support that, and I thought that was really good. It was very well done, and congratulations to your committee, Jerry. You guys did a really great job putting that together. And it was impressive to see the amount of support the community has for the Marines. And I thought, especially that particular battalion, because they do a really difficult job in the military, and that was just, to me, was a very special experience.
Yeah, we had sign-up sheets for people who wanted to volunteer, and I think there was, I don't know, 15 slots or something, and we ended up with 11 pages filled up. So there are really, this is going to be snowballing in our community. It's going to be a great thing. And I know the Sheriff's Department was there recruiting. Hopefully they got some good candidates.
I think that tonight was really difficult for me. I think I really had a lot of discomfort about this whole process. But I think we're probably moving in the right direction. Again, this is not a slight against your decision, Director. I just think in this case, unfortunately, our visitor isn't still here to hear this, but I think part of what changed my mind is the fact that I do not want this city to be perceived as being anti-business. I think I would still be very careful to approve or deny based on the individual circumstance. I think based on the information that you had at the beginning, I probably would have denied it just like you did. I think that our presenter did a much better job in discussing it tonight in person than he did in his presentation. His letter presentation did not impress me. So I think in that light, there's a lot of different things to consider here, and it's just sometimes it's difficult to figure out which one needs to prevail. But I think for the benefit of the city, I don't want the outside businesses of the world, the big companies that we want to come in here, I don't want them to think that we're unfriendly. And I think that the risk that 99-cent stores presents in terms of any kind of complication for the community, I think in this case is very minor. And I appreciate all the work that staff did, and especially I appreciate that last email that you sent yesterday. That was very helpful to me in understanding the situation. So thank you very much for doing that, and we appreciate all that you're doing. And appreciate, police service, appreciate the work that you're doing over there, and your input. That was very useful also. Thanks to my fellow board members. I thought for as difficult as this was, we all worked it out pretty well.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Andrew. Well, happy Mother's Day. Thank you, staff, for a very long but good meeting. Thank you to our visiting attorney. We like Mel, but we like you too. One note, I was at the Lake 2 HOA meeting, and a resident said that we have a Baker Ranch sign on Bake on HOA property. So, something to look into, because he likes to complain a lot, and I don't like him.
We'll look into that. We work closely with the BIA and Baker Ranch on the signs, and the city issued encroachment permits on city property for those signs. And so we'll review that one. If you can just send me an email, give me a better location, because we have several on Big Parkway, and then we can certainly check that.
Well, there's only 2 long blocks that would be Lake 2 HOA, and that would be between Geronimo and Toledo. No, beyond, yeah. Geronimo and Trabuco. Geronimo and Trabuco, yeah. And I think it's between Geronimo and Toledo where the sign is.
That's great. We'll check it.
Thank you.
So I'm batting clean up here. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. I appreciate the staff tonight. I think we had some choppy waters, but we survived. I wanted to thank Lieutenant, it's Valentine, and I usually don't thank 2 attorneys at once, but for both of you coming tonight, thank you. And last but not least, well, no, I wanted to say that there was a competing city activity, soccer, so I wish at least this next weekend will be probably a little respite after that. Anyway, I enjoy soccer too, but and last but not least, I wanted to commend Commissioner Fuentes. I think you kind of had sway over some of the proceedings tonight, and I thought you did a great job. So, congratulations on swaying people to your side. And with that, we're adjourned.